Good afternoon, dear suppliers, partners, and friends of Rail Baltica. We are very happy that you could join us here today for the third edition of the Rail Baltica Industry Day. This format was created under the restrictions of the pandemic. However, it has established as a communication channel here to stay, to inform the community and involve you. Speaking of involvement, I kindly invite you all to scan this QR code that will give you access to our dedicated Slido platform. Throughout the event, you will be able to ask questions and we will try to address as many as possible. The primary audience of the Rail Baltica Industry Day is the supplier and business community, and we will try to address the questions that interest you, that you identified upon registration. It is the overall and country-specific project progress, as well as procurements, construction readiness, and other subjects. We are so excited by the high interest in the project, with almost 900 registrations and even further viewers to be expected on our broadcasting channels, on our website, as well as on the Rail Baltica social media channels. So once again, for the quality of this event, I want to encourage you to ask questions. Now, let's start the event. And I give the floor to Madame Catherine Trottmann, European Coordinator for the North Sea Baltic TNT Corridor.
Thank you very much, Lina. I want to say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, especially also to my dear ministers and friends, Loretta, Kaspars, and also Kristen, I saw on the screen. I'm very happy to open the Rail Baltica Industry Day. Rail Baltica is the biggest infrastructure project in the history of the Baltic states. It is big in size and, I must say, in importance. It changes how the Baltic states are connected among each other and to the rest of the European Union. It will bring benefits for many years to come for the economy, the environment, our common European security, and our citizens who want to travel to and in the region. It is also a prominent part of the European infrastructure network. It is a missing link on the North Sea Baltic corridor. The European Commission has proposed to also include it in the future Baltic Sea, Black Sea, Aegean Sea corridor, making it part of two European transport corridors. Rail Baltica cannot happen without the construction, supply, and rail industry. That's why it is important to have regular dialogue with industry and businesses. Today's event is one element of this dialogue. You are following this Industry Day because you are interested in the project, and thank you for that. I would like to share my political assessments of Rail Baltica with you today. As the European coordinator of the North Sea Baltic corridor, I have been following Rail Baltica almost for nearly a decade. I have seen it maturing from an idea to a project in execution. It is a crucial moment for the project because we are finally seeing the construction of the main line starting. I believe that Rail Baltica is a very interesting and safe business opportunity. Politically, there is a very strong support. Since Russia attacked Ukraine, the support has grown further. The Baltic states need a resilient transport connection to the rest of the EU. This is an economic imperative, and it is a security imperative. We need it to deter any potential aggression from the East. Rail Baltica is also a project of military mobility. For the Baltic states, for Finland, which is already a NATO member, and for Sweden, which will join NATO soon. Economically, it will boost the developments in the Baltic states, bringing them closer together and closer to the rest of the EU, connecting their citizens, their businesses, their research and innovation ecosystems. That's why having a backbone line for rail logistics will be of utmost importance to reinforce the exchanges between the East and the West. The citizens and politicians in the Baltic states have understood this aspect and the qualities of the Rail Baltica project. I spoke to the transport ministers, to members of the national parliaments, and I regularly speak to the project partners. Everybody wants Rail Baltica. This is also the case in Brussels. The European Commission regards the railway line is a necessity. So far, it has made more than 2.2 billion euro available in the Baltic states, making it the project that receives proportionally most money from the Connecting Europe facility. The priority of the European Commission is to connect Tallinn to Warsaw by 2030. The Commission will focus its financial efforts on this north-south connection. This connection will be the backbone for a further expansion of the European gauge railway network after 2030. We know that a lot more should come. For instance, Lithuania will be eager to connect Kaunas to Klaipėda, for example. The experience gained with building Rail Baltica will also serve for the future. My corridor will be expanded to Ukraine, which will also need to be connected into the EU in European gauge. It is a good time to come to the Baltic states and to this project of the Rail Baltica if your company is not here yet. Building up a presence, getting to know the business practices takes some time, but it's time which is well spent. There is a need for your expertise, and there is business to make for many years to come. Be part of it.
Thank you, Madame Trottmann. I just want to point out how important it is for you to take part at this event and again underline the European nature as well as the common goals that we aim to implement here. Therefore, a question of geopolitical nature. So given the context and the war in Ukraine, as well as the support that CEF has shown for Ukraine, how do you see the development of the TEN-T network and maybe more specifically the two corridors that Rail Baltica will be part of?
Rail Baltica will be a model for the development of the main line, if I can say, rail line in Ukraine, like the one which is connected to my corridor, that is for Lviv, Kiev, until Mariupol. And this is, of course, in study in the moment, and there is a very interesting study made by Jaspers. But you know that the reconstruction of Ukraine will be organized with a special budget, and there are several hypotheses for that. The CEF must be used for the big projects we have in the total European Union, and it will not be sufficient to rebuild and reconstruct the infrastructure in Ukraine. But it doesn't mean that we could not use CEF money to help for the solidarity lanes and for the cross-border connections. This was the case, but this was not so enormous amounts. It was not a way to diminish the envelopes for the other projects. So I'm very confident. If we finish the main line in 2030, it will be, of course, the demonstration that we need to continue and we need to have a good CEF for the next period of the financial perspectives. So I ask for mobilization and demonstration of all the partners to finish in a good manner, in a good demonstration of the use of the European money, this very big and important Rail Baltica infrastructure.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to introduce the next keynote session with participation from the Ministers and Deputy Minister of the Baltic States, the Ministry of Climate of Estonia, the Ministry of Transport of Latvia and the Ministry of Transport and Communications of Lithuania. So first, please welcome Kristen Michal, Minister of Climate of the Republic of Estonia.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, Madam Catherine Trautmann, nice to see you always, organizers and participants. It's a big pleasure to welcome you today. Rail Baltica is one of the largest and most important infrastructure projects in the region, creating a fast and modern rail link between the Baltic states and Central Europe. On the one hand, a high-speed rail to the Europe will create opportunities for our economy, opening up new trade routes for the businesses in this region and giving them better access to international markets. Improved transport links will attract investments and strengthen our competitiveness. And on the other hand, Rail Baltic will have a major impact on reducing our environmental footprint by limiting our dependence on road transport and encouraging a shift to more sustainable modes of transport. Rail Baltica's importance is also clearly reflected in the new security situation. The comprehensive interconnection of the Baltic states with Europe is one of the most tangible and necessary security guarantees for us. Project's priority is demonstrated by the fact that it has received almost the full amount of funding requested from the latest CEF round, where a total 1.1 billion euros was allocated to the project together with the national co-financing. In Estonia, the funding will allow to start the construction of the first 3 sections on the Rail Baltica main line. Next year, a total of at least 50 kilometers of Rail Baltica main line will be under construction in Estonia, all in all of 215 kilometers. We need to accelerate the pace of railway construction, considering the main goal to transport passengers and freight on Rail Baltica throughout its entire length as soon as possible. Accelerating the project will also help to secure maximum funding from the current EU budget period. So, thank you everyone who is participating in today's event, and I wish you a successful conference and very exciting discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And please now welcome on the stage Mr. Kaspars Briškens, Minister of Transport of the Republic of Latvia.
Good afternoon, Rail Baltica friends. It is truly a privilege for me to address you today as Transport Minister, although I'm sure that, unfortunately not here physically, but over the virtual link, I'm sending my warm greetings to everyone that I have met in my own adventures as part of the Rail Baltica project for more than 10 years. I'm very happy to see how far we have gone in the 10 plus years that the Rail Baltica has been shaping. And of course, without you, without the community of international suppliers, partners, stakeholders on the national level, on the Baltic level, on the European level, we wouldn't have come to this particular point. So if I may wish for something in the context of today's event, I hope that at some point we return back to our Rail Baltica Global Forum format, where we can also actually meet in person, because I would be dying to see many of you, and I'm very happy for the work that you're doing. I'm also standing here to reconfirm the ironclad commitment that Latvia has towards the Rail Baltica project. I think this project needs no introduction, neither domestically nor on the European level. This very cooperation between suppliers, between local companies, between the various institutions, bringing forward this critical European project is an excellent testimony to the important role that, of course, also Madam Trautmann emphasized. We have grown for a few international partners, and our initial participation way back in 2017 in the first international fairs where Rail Baltica was being presented as an opportunity in the early planning phase. And today, seeing that we have 300 international partners joining, almost 1,000 people tuning in to this event today, again, is a very nice illustration on the critical European importance that this project is shaping. It's not just a Baltic project, although it's called Rail Baltica. It's a truly European project, and one that also, in view of the current geopolitical situation, reminds us of the importance of the railway backbone to strengthen also our defense capability. So this project is not just a super connector from the transport and logistics perspective, connecting our cities, our smaller towns, our ports, our airports, but it is also one that brings a very, very important defense, logistics, military mobility, and all in all strengthens our connectivity across various modes of transport, but also in terms of energy interconnections, in terms of digital interconnections, and again, in terms of strengthening our defense capabilities. My vision and my values with regard to this project have not changed. No matter what position I take, I firmly believe that Rail Baltica should be developed as a European project. I'm also a strong believer in the Baltic cooperation. It has not been an easy project, but I think it's one of those projects where also Baltic states, as part of the broader European family, have been able to proceed, to enter also into a full-fledged construction phase, and we should maintain that momentum. There's also a very important role that needs to be continuously played by the joint venture, so I'll always be a strong supporter of a supranational joint venture which oversees the quality of delivery, technical interoperability, the commercial aspects, also aspects related to innovation and digitalization, also promoting joint operational readiness development, because it is very easy to get bogged down in the nuances of construction and physical delivery, but we should for not one moment forget that we should have an operational mindset from day one, and also think how Rail Baltica will shape new markets for connectivity, for mobility services, for freight services, for integrated logistics services, supporting our industries, supporting our exporters, and of course integrating Baltic states and our broader region into the rest of the European economy. So I also wanted to emphasize that currently we are facing the challenge of finding the scope for the project that we can deliver in a functional way until 2030. And it is indeed a challenge. We are currently finalizing the next generation cost-benefit analysis for Rail Baltica. And of course, there are many things that you cannot quantify in a CBA. Think of our friends in Ukraine. If Rail Baltica was present today, not only would Baltic states themselves have a better defense integration and defense capability, but we could also have helped our Ukrainian friends, brothers and sisters even more than we are doing now. So this is a testimony to how important this physical connectivity is. We know that the CAPEX requirements for Rail Baltica will be higher, far higher than maybe the initial estimates, but we have to find a way of combining ways of optimizing the project, delivering functionality, hopefully by 2030. For me, it is also very important that Riga, as the biggest metropolitan area in the Baltic states, is properly integrated in this planning. And then, of course, we need to work closely also with our international finance partners to find also other alternative sources of funding on top of the very generous funding that the project has been receiving from the European Union in the shape of Connecting Europe facility. But generally, since this project generates so many benefits, so many commercial opportunities, I think it also has the potential of attracting investment. And in this regard, and I will conclude on this note, I would also send a message regarding the operational readiness planning. I also call upon my colleagues in the Baltic states, in the broader supplier industry, that we should jointly plan also for the future operational phase. This includes also very practical affairs, such as investigation and market research into rolling stock acquisition. We know that Rail Baltica will require everything from high-speed train sets to regional EMUs, night trains, freight locomotives, freight wagons. All of these, I would be happy if we would plan in an integrated fashion, and this would become part of our joint understanding that for the future user, the passenger, the logistics operator, the freight shipper, the investor, the innovation community, startup community, that Rail Baltica will present itself as a one-stop shop to the future users. So with that dream, I wish every participant the best of success. I once again thank the supplier community to be an integral part of this project, and let's continue to work together to bring this project closer to reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now to close the keynote session, please welcome the Deputy Minister of Transport and Communications of the Republic of Lithuania, Ms. Loreta Maskliovina.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to see everybody of you, of course, dear ministers, dear Katerina, dear partners and experts who are very interesting on this project. And I'm happy to see that the participants group is growing very fast. And each year we see the more and more people who are connecting and listening what kind of activities we are planning so close. First of all, of course, I would like to thank all and use this opportunity to thank for all partners, all colleagues for significant progress in current situation achieved already this year and last and previously year for implementation of Rail Baltica. And what kind of figures it shows that this year, for the first time ever, Rail Baltica commit and receive from European Commission biggest part of the EU funding, and now together with national contribution we have more than 1 billion additional funding for the activities Rail Baltica implementation. What does it mean for us? It means that European Commission see and understand and approve that they see increasing project maturity, of course, and our joint focus to speed up implementation. And of course must all of these activities we are doing together with you. What we are focusing now, main goal, of course, priority to focus on main line construction Rail Baltica and connect our three Baltics and together with Poland. Of course, what was mentioned, the biggest target to connect and have functionable line till the 2030. For Poland, we have more ambitions to connect Lithuania and Poland even earlier, 2028. For this, of course, we should put a lot of together efforts and to see more creative for the different type of activities implementation. And what I inviting, of course, you to participate and to be interesting on the new activities, what we are planning, what this discussion today will be about. And of course, we are inviting all Baltic states companies, all European countries companies, but of course, the Rail Baltica is a global project. We see more and more interesting companies from the global players. And also we're inviting to be more active, more participate in our planning public procurement, and of course to start to implement together with us this Rail Baltic Alliance. What is currently needed, of course, what I mentioned, not standard solutions for the accelerating implementation of this project. And we, for ourselves, have a task to revise and to see all internal procedures, shorten them, of course, reduce bureaucracies, communicate as much as possible to provide information for all players on this project. And of course, the same we expected for our contractors, timely implementation, work completions, and of course work together with customer and main goal to speed up implementation. Rail Baltica is currently one of the biggest investments in our region, of course, and total value of procurements in Baltic countries currently reach 5 billion euros. In current geopolitical situation, of course, we understand this brutal Russia war aggression in Ukraine changed in general the priority of Rail Baltica, and Rail Baltica becomes vital important for our countries, not only for our common economy resilience, but also connectivity with Europe, rest of part of Europe, but also for our country's full independence and national security. And finally, of course, today you, as usual, will have possibility to see a lot of different information to our activities, what we are planning in coming year. And of course, companies will present what kind of activities we are waiting and we are coming to implement. And of course, I wish very interesting information, your active participation and discussions in the today seminar. But of course, waiting you to meet in implementation of Rail Baltica. And I wish you the very interesting today's discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. So while different aspects have been accentuated in the three speeches we just heard, I think what really comes across is that Rail Baltica benefits from the political support from the three Baltic states, which is very important for an infrastructure project of this scale. So next in the program, please welcome Rail Baltica Joint Venture Management Representative Thierry Boussillon, Chief Program Management Officer, who will give an update on the Rail Baltica Global Project progress. Before I leave the stage, just please, I want to remind you all to use actively QR, because we will also have a little Q&A session after your presentation.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon. I'm glad to see so many people today. My name is Thierry Boussillon. I'm the Chief Program Management Officer and member of the management board at Rail Baltica Joint Venture, who is in charge of managing this project. Today, before my colleagues share more detailed information and update on various areas of the project, I wanted to give you a brief general overview of Rail Baltica. So, the main goal of Rail Baltica project is to become an integral part of the EU transport network. Rail Baltica is set to join two of these corridors, becoming part of the North Sea, Baltic Sea, TNT corridor, and a segment of the Baltic Sea, Black Sea, Aegean Sea, TNT corridor. In today's geopolitical context, it's obviously more important than ever to connect the Baltic region to the rest of the European Union, while ensuring obviously that infrastructural synergy along the Rail Baltica corridor. This project obviously contributes to the national and regional economies and add value to the rest of the European Union. Our vision remains unchanged. This project will support the achievement of climate, sustainability, and safety goals. It's a clear catalyst for further development opportunities in this region, and it will improve, obviously, the mobility for goods and passengers. So our key commitment today is that we want to reaffirm, and you heard it earlier, is really that we want to finish the main corridor of the Rail Baltica by 2030. So where do we stand on project progress and priority? Over the last couple of years, we had a challenging time on the project. Nevertheless, we made steady progress on the design in every state. We had now several sections that are ready to start construction, and we've already launched the procurement of civil works contract, and we're going to launch additional procurement based on this maturity on some of the design. We had nevertheless to descope part of some of the design we do in certain region of the line, and we're going to launch new procurement in a very near future. Regarding the design and build procurement for the railway subsystem, including the electrification, control command, signaling, as you know, some of you know that we launched the electrification tender earlier this year, and we're going to launch command control and signaling later on this year with an objective to sign the contract by sometime in the second quarter and third quarter of 2024. Last but not least, we are now working on the new CBA, cost-benefit analysis, and the business plan. We are planning to finish that by January 2024. This is going to give us two things. It's going to give us the investment cost, but also the socio-economic benefits of the project. Then we'll be able to realign our project delivery strategy and secure additional funding, both from the EU fund, but also from additional source and alternative source of financing. Talking about financing, and you heard from different people before, up to now we've secured 2.7 billion for our mature activity, and the most recent one being close to 1 billion, the agreement we signed in October with the European Commission. Regarding the project delivery schedule, I do not intend to go through every line for every country, but the message I wanted to give you is that we want to implement the project on the 3 states in parallel. We will implement the design by sometime 2026, and construction will finish in 2028-29 in some specific area. And then ENG and CCS can deploy their equipment and their services, and then we will plan to keep the year of 2030 to really test and commission this line and put the line in operation. A specific area and status on ENG and CCS, ENG energization and CCS control, command and signaling. As I said earlier, we launched a tender for the ENG during earlier this year. We plan to award the contract probably in June 2024. And for control and command and signaling, we're going to launch a tender probably at the end of this year, with an objective of awarding the contract sometime in August, September 2024. So in order to really implement our vision and to implement this project, we will need to build a strong network of international expertise and partnership. It will give us the possibility to bring top-level skills for a new project and keep us updated on the latest technology. Right now, we have about more than 300 companies we work with, industry partners from all around the world. And so we need more of you, and I really encourage you to reach out to us, to the project, and to connect. Thank you.
Thank you, Thierry. So we do have some first questions that came in via Slido. So one that is a bit of a tough one. So how does the present situation of Rail Baltica fundings, how is it impacting the implementation schedule for each of the countries and more generally for the whole line?
Well, today we have received the fund from European Commission, from the States, for the mature activity. So we don't have a problem of funding today. But nevertheless, we are working with the European Commission, with the States, to bring the additional financing we need. But also we are looking for alternative funding, source of funding, to achieve what we want to do, which is to complete this main corridor by the end of 2030. So we welcome any source of financing and any support on this respect. But yeah, I think we don't have any issue today in implementing this project. We have really secured the money we need to implement the mature activity.
A very reassuring message. Another one that I'm thinking of, so it's a huge project for the Baltic states. It's a huge challenge. Can you maybe comment on the capacity that we have here to implement it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question that's a good question, and we get this question quite often. I mean, this is a mega project. It's quite huge because we're going to work on about 900 and 950 kilometers of line, double track, with some branches to the city, to the capital of Riga and Vilnius. So it's a significant project. But that's why we have this kind of industry day. We want to bring the international expertise. We want to bring all of you here, bring with your equipment, bring your people, bring your knowledge, expertise, and help us deliver this project. I think it's by getting all of this together that we can implement this vision by 2030. So I'm confident that we've seen already the interest today with a number of people coming to this session and registering to attend this session. We can bring people, we can bring companies from all over the world, and we can implement that. We cannot do it if we remain within the state, Baltic state, but we can do it by bringing people from outside Baltic states.
Thank you. We actually have time for one last question. It's not the most popular one in Slido right now, but it's a popular one in general, I know. Justina asks, why building Rail Baltica takes so long?
Well, you know, when you start this kind of project, and Rail Baltica doesn't take longer than any other mega project like this one. I mean, remember, this one is significant project. If you take high-speed to other projects, they all take a lot of time because you need to start, you need to plan, you need to do the special planning, then you need to develop the procurement, develop the spec, and go into the design. And so all these projects take time, and this one is no different from the other one. It's no different from high-speed 1, high-speed 2 project all over the world take this kind of time. You cannot implement, you implement a project in a short period of time, but people tend to forget that it takes time to prepare this project to go into implementation phase. And what you see today on the Rail Baltica, we started where there was nothing, there was just a vision. And now we've been working about 9-10 years, and we are close, actually. We are closer to the end than to the beginning. So it's no different from other projects. So it doesn't take much more time than any other project.
Thank you. My personal comment would be that it always depends on what side you are. As a future passenger, you ask why so long, and as someone implementing the project, you think that the timeline is quite short, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you, Thierry.
Thank you.
I will just answer one of the questions here I see on Slido. Will the slides be available after the event? You can still register to have access to the slides. Otherwise, you will be able to look at recordings of this conference that we will publish on our website and YouTube after the event. So, now it's time to zoom in and look at the project development in each of the Baltic states. I'm glad to introduce this next session with representatives from the 3 national implementing bodies, Rail Baltica Estonia, Eiropas Dzelzceļa Līnijas, and LTG Infra. First, I invite to the stage Mr. Anvar Salomets, Chief Executive Officer at Rail Baltica Estonia, to present the project progress in Estonia.
Rail Baltica is the first mega project in Estonia. This project sets very high demands for all parties. So far, the cooperation with client has been very good. The project has very high demands for concrete quality. We have lots of A-class surfaces, also very tight time schedule and logistical challenges also. I'm quite sure that every construction company wants to be part of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, partners, industry players. My name is Anvar Salomets. I'm the CEO of one of the implementing bodies who is responsible for implementation of the Rail Baltica project in Estonia. It has been a long time when we last saw here, but I can assure that we have been progressing well. Before I'm getting to the future challenges and our value proposal, I just provide you a very quick insight of the things and activities we have been tackling during those years. A very brief explanation about the project scope. Of course, there is the main line, the biggest portfolio in our portfolio. There are the international passenger terminals, I would say fabulous, with a fabulous architectural design. There are different freight terminals, infrastructure maintenance facilities, and I would say a big variety of civil engineering structures. The status quo. Our focus has been on civil structures during those 2 or 3 years, and I can say that it has been a success. Could not imagine that we have started with the mainline works, with a mega project from the very beginning without having those experiences we have gained during these years. The civil structures, mostly the viaducts and aqueducts, are tendered, the contracts are mostly signed and the works are ongoing. Some of them are even ready. Of course, there is Ülemiste passenger terminal where we started our construction works this year, and I'm very happy about that. This is the landscape terminal, or one of them in Estonian territory, where the Rail Baltica journey starts, where the Rail Baltica user experience will start. As said, the works are ongoing, and the focus on the coming years will be there as well. On the coming months, there will be different tenders, particularly in Ülemiste, and of course the terminal building itself. The tenders will be published at the first half of 2024, so I urge you to take a look and to provide the bids as well. But not only the Ülemiste terminal, also the Rail Baltica main line will be our focus. There are ongoing tenders, 3 sections, approximately 20 kilometers, where the bids have been opened already or will be opened on the coming weeks. There will be approximately 50 kilometers of additional main line to be procured, and the tenders will be launched already at the end of this year. So in total, I would say that 1/3 of the main line on Estonian territory will be contracted during half of a year. So on the next half of 2024, 1/3 of the main line construction works are already started. Before going to the future challenges, I just want to take your attention for one certain topic, the lessons learned topic. What useful we have gained so far, what we think is positive and can be taken with us before starting those, I would say, massive tenders, and what are the challenges and aspects we have to consider very carefully and make our best not to make them happen once again. Of course, investments front-loading. I explained the civil structures portfolio, those viaducts and aqueducts. It has been a useful learning curve for all the parties, for the industry players and for us, of course, as well. And not only in terms of the money, but also in terms of procedures, in terms of understanding, in terms of getting a smooth understanding between the parties. Optimization of the engineering solutions, optimization of the designs, this has been a real value as we actually face quite a strong push in terms of the budgets. So we really need to challenge also the budget, and this is one of the measures which has been a great success so far. Prerequisites for starting the construction works, the real construction works. It's not only the contract signing, but different enabling works have to be carried out. Also, a detailed technical design has to be approved. We have faced, of course, a lot of challenges, but what I want to emphasize is that we cannot start the real construction works without having those TTDs in place, approved, and followed. Otherwise, I would ask how we will share the associated risks, who will pay for the additional costs. Documentation of the construction works, very simple. You will follow the design, you will make it, you will declare it as an as-built, and you will get the money, as simple as that. So money reaches the economy faster when things are done properly. And of course, environment, implementation of the environmental requirements. The use of secondary materials has been a success story and will be in the future, I can assure. But what hasn't been introduced yet is the environmental management plans. This is how we actually consider the environmental aspects even in a more detailed manner. So the environmental management plans will be introduced during the mainline tenders, and this is something the market hasn't followed yet. But still, the biggest challenge is the timing in different aspects. First, understanding the market. When, how, and when and how we should organize the tenders and which strategies we have to choose. The second one is the funding. So how to balance the funding and the construction plans, how to get best out of it, how to get best out of the investments provided. Of course, the processes, the procedures, the democratic procedures. Everyone has to get in a very good fit to make 2030 happen. Not only the implementing bodies and the joint venture, but all the partners. Of course, the industry players as well. And time is a critical resource. We all know it, but we deem to forget that the useful working time is not always 12 months. So we have to bear in mind different factors and to accommodate our construction works in a variety of different factors. Our main focus on the coming years, on the coming months and on the coming years is the project financing, the sustainable financing post-2027, when the new MFF will start. The solutions to speed up the project, and of course the focus will be on the mainline construction. I can assure you that throughout the Baltic states the project will be the biggest construction site in all over Europe. How we actually speed up the project, I will just provide one very short measure or proposal. We need to change the procurement strategy rapidly. So the alliance will be the strategy, otherwise we cannot compile the task by the end date. Why alliance? It enables flexibility, fast decision-making, fosters the innovation. We can do the continuous engineering in parallel with the construction works. There will be, most probably, there will be no arguing in between the partners where we waste a lot of time. And last but not least, the maturity can be achieved faster. The maturity can be shown even faster in terms of or before opening the new MFF. This is one example how the alliance packages will be compiled. Of course, this is not a final one, but still something to consider. Between Tootsi and Pärnu, there will be the alliance, most probably where substructure and superstructure are included. There will be, most probably, the separate alliance between Pärnu and the Estonian-Latvian state border, where substructure and superstructure works are included. Just for you to consider, just to reflect your considerations, your thoughts, your ideas. We will be discussing those with you on the coming months already, because there will be the tender for the Alliance consultancy services published already this year. And last but not least, the project timeline. My colleague Thierry already showed it. We have to do a lot of work just to compress those activities, to find those measures, how to organize different activities on the critical path in parallel where possible, and of course change the strategy. What has bring us here won't bring us any more longer from that point. So the small packages most probably won't be the strategy in the coming future. And of course, we will count on you, dear industry players. We will make it happen together. Thank you.
Thank you, Anvar. So we have a few questions that came in, and some specifically addressed to you. Let's start with an anonymous one. What are the biggest possible challenges for potential contractors in Rail Baltica Estonian section?
Of course, there are many of them, a big variety of them. I would just take out the top three. Challenge number one, of course, timing. So the contractor should consider that this time schedule is very sporty. So it needs that the parties provide innovation, the solutions, engineering solutions, which are already optimized, so the time schedules can allow us to put different activities in parallel. That's the first one. The second one, very specific engineering knowledges we are lacking in Estonia or in Baltics, in wider Baltics. For example, different geotechnical services, competencies. So these are needed to get here from abroad. That was the second one. The third one, of course, I would say money spent wisely. I'm coming back to the optimization, and of course from our side the expectation is that the contractors will deeply dig into the details, will already consider all the optimization possibilities just to face those challenges we have with the budget.
All right. I want to, let's say, connect it to what you mentioned, this need of expertise also. Maybe you could comment on how difficult it is for international companies to actually enter the market in Estonia and participate in Rail Baltica procurements?
It depends on the disciplines. It depends on the, of course, on the packages as well. But in principle, I would say the entry level is quite okay. The entry level, I would say, is even quite low. So everyone can participate. Now the question is, what is or how big is the appetite? As I mentioned, the construction strategy we have today, it means small or medium proportions tendered won't be the measure in the near future. The packages will be bigger. It means that also the appetite from the foreign market players should be there, and also the bids from their side will be there.
Right, you actually already touched upon another question we received. Why Estonia has splitted the infra tenders, so I guess mainline construction tender, for so many sections, very short ones?
There were different practical reasons. One of them, of course, the design delivery. But as said, this is not the approach anymore. The next packages will be bigger.
Very good. And when we speak a lot of international expertise and need to increase capacity, however, a very legitimate question is, what about locals? You bring in international companies, but are you giving enough work to locals?
Locals will be there anyway. Otherwise, the works cannot be performed on time. So the locals won't be left somewhere aside, but they are still part of the tenders. And as one of the measures will be the alliance model, it already acquires different parties and different teams to be available.
All right. One last question?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So, question for Anvar. How is the crossing of the Raama bog seen? Is there a connection from Tallinn to Pärnu in the works by 2028 or by 2029 at the latest?
It was Raama bog, yeah? Yeah.
Mispronounced?
No.
All right.
Greatly pronounced. Raama bog is, of course, the challenge for the engineers, not only for the local engineers, but for the foreign engineers as well. The solution is already designed. It means that we can start with the construction tenders, and we will start next year. Whether to open the section Tallinn-Pärnu, between Tallinn and Pärnu, for operations before 2030, I would say this is up to the political decision. From the technical perspective, of course, it's doable. The question is whether it's reasonable and whether politicians acquire that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you are free to go.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on and hear about the Rail Baltica delivery in Latvia. This will be presented by Gusts Ašmanis, Head of Infrastructure Management Department at Eiropas Dzelzceļa Līnijas.
I joined the Rail Baltica project as part of the team that won the competitive tender for the design and build for the Riga Central Station project. And now we are designing and building for the last few years the central station in Riga. My role in the project is a design and quality manager, so I was in charge of getting the design fully completed, coordinated and approved for the Riga Central Station and the embankments next to it, as well as the bridge over Daugava River. And now I'm in charge of quality control and compliance with the design during the construction period. For the construction, you can see currently behind me the installation of the feet of the arch of the station, which will be the support structure for the roof and the highest point of the station that will be built in the next coming weeks. So we are starting a new construction phase in the project because we are starting the construction of the bridge over the Daugava River, which is the river going through Riga and which is a 1.3 kilometer long railway bridge that will be used for Rail Baltica operation.
I'm Chief of Syntagma Foreign Project Office and I'm the branch manager of our activities here in Latvia. Latvia was an opportunity that was born in 2017 when our partners in the joint venture prospective invited us into the Rail Baltica railway station at Riks Airport tender. After this first project and considering the positive result of it, we decided to remain and invest again in Latvia. We are now leading company into two other projects here. The new Rail Baltica intermodal freight terminal in Salaspils and the new infrastructure maintenance facility in Skulten in Jēkabpils. We are proud that in Jēkabpils we completed the first design, allowing our client to start the first Rail Baltica main line works outside the Riga city. Rail Baltica railway station at Riks is a huge project, divided into several stages. In this moment, one of the hardest ones, the relocation of several utilities network and roads here in Riks area, is quite completed. Also, the foundation pile and pile cap are already done, and soon the two new viaducts before and after the railway station will be realized, allowing the project to be another step closer to the completion.
Hello, my name is Gus Sašmanis. I'm Director of Infrastructure Management Department at Eiropas Dzelzceļa Līnijas, or as we locally call ourselves, EDZL. We are national implementing body of Rail Baltica project in Latvia, and we are also interim infrastructure manager of Rail Baltica railway section in Latvia. Today, I will inform you about our activities on which we are focusing and how we are progressing on those activities. Therefore, let me start with a map. It will give an overview of infrastructure we are developing. We are in the middle of Baltics, and that explains that it's also middle section of Rail Baltica railway line. And in this section, we are developing main line of the railway, in this case, railway tracks, as other components like electrification and signaling will be developed by joint venture AB Rail. And we also develop local facilities like passenger stations, both international and regional stations, freight terminals, infrastructure maintenance facilities, rolling stock depot, and also operational control center. And let me give super brief overview about our progress in those activities. This slide says itself that we are progressing very well in all activities. Of course, we are in different stages in each of them. The most further development and progress is in our activities regarding stations. International stations are on constructing phase, and this is obviously because we started much earlier this activity than other activities due to their complexity. But actually, other activities are also gaining speed and progressing very well. We are on design stage in many of those activities, starting from regional stations, followed by freight terminals and others, like infrastructure maintenance facilities. And few activities are on our pipeline. We hope we will be able to announce soon procurement regarding those works, like development of rolling stock maintenance depot and design for it, like design for cargo terminal near to Riga International Airport. In addition, as I said, we are responsible for infrastructure management functions until the final infrastructure manager will be appointed. Therefore, what we are doing right now, we develop infrastructure management model and also work together with our colleagues in Baltics and with joint venture RB Rail in order to prepare a readiness plan for infrastructure management functions. Let me switch now to the details in our main activities from that list which I mentioned. And let me start first of all with Riga International and Central Station, Riga Central Station, or hub also called. This is important for many reasons, but let me start with this slide, not with these pictures which you saw already in the video. In this slide I want to emphasize the importance of partnership in this activity and in development of infrastructure. In this activity we work together with many international partners from different countries, starting from design and followed by construction works and supervision of construction, and this is also involvement of our local partners. Therefore, it is important synergy between partners from different countries. In addition, I have to mention the importance of Riga Central Station for the industry, for the transport industry. This project is brownfield. It means that the station is there, is operating, and we are developing additional infrastructure, and we will reconstruct some existing infrastructure elements. But what we will bring with Rail Baltica is additional passengers, and we are not developing only European standard gauge and connection to Europe through that. We are developing new connectivity with regional bus, as bus terminal also will be located there. That means that Riga Central Station in the future will definitely be the biggest passenger hub in Baltic states. We still discuss with colleagues what could be the number of passengers, and it depends how we will be able to use the capacity. If we will use maximum capacity, then we can achieve more than 40 million passengers per year in this station. It means a huge number and significance, and it's also significant connectivity point for whole region and for local community, because new connections will be available by train, new connections will be available by bus, and this will be significant improvement from existing situation. Therefore, it is a super important activity for us and for the whole project and for transport industry. Now you can see a few pictures from construction works, and this is also additional message that this station will bring, and actually already is changing landscape, and this is therefore important also for local area, for Riga city, and will improve not only the station but whole surrounding area. Now let me switch to Riga International Airport Station. Here another example of partnership. In this case, different partners, but the same message, that involvement of different partners from different countries is important in order to complete this activity. And this station is important for the region and our local transport industry from different perspectives. This station will create service which we don't have yet here in Latvia, and in regional perspective as well. Air-to-rail connection will be possible after construction works and start of operations. Such service is not available here, and this is what we aim to achieve. And although we don't have a service provider yet, our goal is to achieve in this case the service in which we provide full integrated air-to-rail service. That means that passenger, together with the luggage, will be able to check in station, and this is what we are focusing on. In addition, it also is a project where transport industry is getting benefits, and also landscape changes are significant. And here you can see in the pictures few examples of ongoing construction works. Let me continue a story about passenger stations. Now you can see the slide about the regional stations. This activity is on design stage, as I said, because it was started later, and actually this activity arrived later in the project as well. But despite that, we are progressing very well with this. We are on design stage. We aim to complete the design of regional stations during the next year. If not for all of them, then at least the most part of all regional stations in Latvia. And again, benefits from regional stations is that it will bring new connectivity. It will attract significant number of passengers for the Rail Baltica line, for the transport industry, for the public transport industry. It will create an opportunity to get much faster to regional points in Latvia, like Salatsgriva and Bauska, than by any transport mode today. It will create opportunity to create better multimodal public transport with bus and rail connection. And we believe that in the long term it will also develop regions, and as history shows that urbanization processes are developing around station areas. Now let me switch from passenger stations to cargo terminals, and let me inform about Salaspils freight terminal. This is important terminal from many perspectives, but the most important is that it will provide multimodality for cargo deliveries. First of all, multimodality for road to rail, and then of course between two types of rail, starting from existing railway gauge and its connection with European standard gauge in this terminal. We will be able to handle cargoes in this terminal between these two types of railways, and also handle to road transport. And we aim to handle here containers, bulk cargo, as well as provide piggyback roller services. And this is important and significant improvement for the whole industry. And that's not all. Actually, in this area, we aim to develop additional services like container parking or container repairs, like warehouses. So many important services will be available here in this territory in the future, and this is what we are working on. And now let me switch to the infrastructure maintenance and inform a bit about infrastructure maintenance facilities. Currently, we are working on both of them and completed design stage for one of them. We have building permit for infrastructure maintenance facility in Iecava, and we hope to get and complete design for infrastructure maintenance facility in Skulte quite soon. Why this activity is so important? First of all, for construction works. For construction works, it will be a base for construction materials. But then, after construction works will be completed, it will become for its main purpose, for infrastructure maintenance facility, where infrastructure maintenance materials, equipment, special rolling stock is located. Special rolling stock like fire and rescue train and others. And therefore we develop this area with respective functionality and respective premises for that functionality. And the last but not least slide from me is about infrastructure management. This is my direct responsibility in Rail Baltica project and in Latvia section. I have to admit that currently we don't have the final decisions yet about infrastructure management. However, I want to inform that our main goal regarding infrastructure management is to provide seamless connectivity for our future users in the railway, for the railway undertakings, for passengers and other infrastructure users. In order to achieve that, we have established an expert group, and we work closely together with our colleagues in Lithuania, in Estonia. We know that despite the decision about infrastructure management, we need to develop a model in which we provide non-discriminatory access for railway infrastructure, and therefore we work on common principles regarding traffic management, safety management, for access charging, for capacity allocations. And what we have done so far, we have developed operational readiness manual, and we did it together with colleagues I mentioned from Estonia and Lithuania, entities responsible for infrastructure management, as well as together with joint venture RB Rail. Why this manual is so important is, first of all, for infrastructure managers to understand what needs to be done in order to start operations from the first day when the construction works are completed. But then it's not only for infrastructure managers, it's also for stakeholders, in order for them to understand what needs to be done to raise their awareness about Rail Baltica project and what needs to be done in order to start operations. Because it's not only infrastructure managers who are involved with this activity list, it's a much wider list of stakeholders which need to take some activities or decisions regarding operations. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Gust. It's actually great to see you finish on the same idea that the Minister of Transport of Latvia mentioned, that operational readiness is actually key to the success of the overall project. So great to see that everyone is cooperating. We have received a few questions on Slido that are particularly addressed to Latvia, and we do have time to go through them all. Okay. So, in Latvia, construction of Rail Baltica is happening in Riga center, making the building sites easy to follow. What is next? I understand that what are the next visible construction works planned? Yeah,
thank you for the question. And let me start with activities I just mentioned. Infrastructure maintenance facilities in Iecava, this is outside Riga, is one of them where we have already building permit, and construction works will start as soon as we will sign the construction agreement. Then additional activities I have to mention is still in the center of Riga. Actually, the bridge over the Daugava River is ready and to launch construction works. It's already started, but not maybe visible yet. Will be visible. Construction works will be visible quite soon, somewhere in November or December.
All right, so STES Technologies Paul asks a question. Does Rail Baltica project include maintenance and washing of wagons in the Baltic region? So you mentioned Skulti.
Yeah, I will answer on that. Thank you for that question. Well, I have to mention our activity which was not included in my presentation. This is development of rolling stock maintenance depot. Actually, it was written in one sentence, but let me give more details. Currently, we are working on value engineering on that activity. We want to understand the better positioning of railway tracks in this location where we have decided that the depot should be there. And then, of course, this depot will progress more. We will start the design, and our vision is to provide some daily maintenance, like cleaning, washing, and maybe some repairs in that maintenance point.
Thank you. It's great that we can give a more complete picture of the works with these questions. So something that is not specifically addressed to Latvia, but you addressed this yourself, this air-rail connection. So will Riga be the only airport connected to Rail Baltica? What about Tallinn Airport as well as Kaunas Airport, offering smooth transfer opportunities? Maybe you can comment.
Well, maybe my colleagues also can comment in later presentations in details, but as we are focusing, is of course my main priority is focus on Riga International Airport, and as far as I know, other stations near to airports are not so close. Yeah, it's maybe our colleagues who could comment more about activities there. But we aim to develop a station which will be quite close, approximately from existing airport terminal. It's around 200 meters, but when the airport terminal will be developed, it will be more closer. So yeah, it will be actually as one hub. And that's what we are focusing on. To also, we work on governance model regarding service facility operations in the station in order to provide seamless service provision for passengers here. I mean, in Riga International Airport Station.
Yes, the level of integration between air and rail is unique in Riks. Connections to other airports would then be ensured by public transport, I guess, between the Rail Baltica line and Kaunas Airport and so on. But this level of integration, that's Riga Airport.
Riga Airport is the closest point if we look from infrastructure location where the station is close to an airport. And one additional thing is service provision, how we will develop the service. That's what I mentioned in my presentation. We don't have service providers yet, but our aim is to provide full integrated service, which means that passengers will be able to check in the station and also check in luggage. And this will require not only service provision in the Riga International Station, but in other stations as well, if possible.
All right, let's move on to the next question. So, to elaborate on the progress in different spheres of Rail Baltica implementation, how is the situation with land acquisition in Latvia?
Okay, I have to admit that I'm not involved in daily operations of land acquisition, but I can give you main figures from Latvia section. In totally, we have 1,700 properties involved regarding land acquisition, and from that number, we have completed land acquisition for 230 properties, and additional 600 are in progress of land acquisition.
Thank you.
So, more than half is in progress.
That's already good. So, why did Latvia start construction from 2 stations in Riga and not on the main line?
Yes, this is a good question, and I tried to answer that already in my presentations. It's due to complexity of the works. It was decision that we should start with the development of station. And as I said, that's the reason why the progress there is further than in other activities, but actually we are pretty good in other activities. As I said, in many of them we are in the design stage. We are in a good position with regional stations and other facilities.
All right, one last one. So what's the reason for a delay in signing mainline building contract in Latvia? A lot of done work locally, but no contract signed. Is it true that Latvia has no money?
I can inform about the process, and the main message is that procurement regarding construction works is completed. I mean, procurement procedure for construction works is completed, and we're looking forward to sign construction agreement as soon as it will be possible.
Thank you. You're free to go as well. Thank you for answering the questions. While I'm here, I will address a few questions that are again of practical nature. Once again, we have been asked about whether the materials will be available after the events. And yes, please do register. You will find a link to a registration on our website. And this registration is necessary so that we have your contact details to receive the materials. Otherwise, another question asked, you will be also able to watch the recordings of this entire event. We will put these available on our website and on YouTube, so nothing is missed. Another question that is a popular one, but unfortunately we don't have our BIM experts here today, but I asked my colleagues to advise. So could you shortly present the organization scheme and process for the BIM management between all the contractors and designers? So you will find the design guidelines on our website and get acquainted with those. I understood that the response can be found there, in particular, page 11 and 12. All right, so that now that we have cleared a few of the questions, please, it's time to hear about the Rail Baltica progress in Lithuania. So please welcome on the stage Dovydas Palaima, General Manager of LTG Infra, Rail Baltica Management.
Neris River Bridge, it's a complicated design bridge passing over the Neris River. Once it's completed, it will be part of the Rail Baltica railway.
Fekdantilste is carrying construction work on the Rail Baltica section from Kaunas to Panevėžys. Our company is responsible for 28 kilometers of embankment, a double track of railway, and engineering structures in this section. This infrastructure project is unique and very important to our country.
It is the longest bridge in Lithuania, in Baltics. It's in the most developed section of this project, which is between Kaunas and the Latvia border. The bridge will have approximately 80,000 cubic meters of concrete, 1.5 kilometer bridge. The height will be 40 meters above the Neris River, and we'll have 376 piles under the foundations of the bridge. The project itself is, for us, is a kind of a collaboration between international and the locals in so many different ways.
There is constant activity cooperation with project owners, local authorities, and other experts.
The collaboration is the key to succeed this project, as stakeholders is expecting from us.
Our team is very proud to be a part of this project, Rail Baltica, to be first engineers to add some value to this kind of projects. It's very, very great for us.
Honorable officials, dear partners, and dear colleagues, I'm Dovydas Palaima, General Manager at Rail Baltica Management at LTGI Lithuania. Today, I'll provide you with an overview of project implementation status in Lithuania, as well as on our focuses due to this score. To this end, firstly, we will have a short glimpse reminder on a project scope in Lithuania. Afterwards, we'll turn to the implementation schedule of a project. Then we'll go to specific sections. We'll have an overview of a project implementation status and our priorities within. And finally, I'll get to the part which might be the most interesting for the market players, is our immediate procurements, which are due to be announced still this year or on early stages next year. So, short glimpse of a project scope in Lithuania. We have about 400 kilometers of a track. We have 3 transport hubs. We have 3 international stations. Up to 15 regional stations. We have 2 EMFs, servicing depots, as well as 2 intermodal terminals. What's important to note is that Lithuania, in Lithuania Rail Baltica is split it into 4 major sections, which go from Poland to Kaunas, from Kaunas to Latvia, from Kaunas to Vilnius, and Kaunas now, due to its complexity, is excluded as a separate section. Now, what's our focus? It was mentioned many times before me, and our Honorable Vice Minister mentioned that. Our major focus is to build the main line, to build on a core network, which we see as the connections between the borders, which means that we are striving to proceed with the construction of a main line going from Poland to Latvia. And to this end, we are conducting many project activities and expanding our project scope in order to facilitate the project implementation. And we are in a constant search for the solutions how we can proceed with project implementations more faster and in a more efficient manner. This refers not only to the expansion of a project scope per se, which, for example, includes construction of the point-type objects prior to the construction of the embankment itself, which I will revert a bit later, but also for many processes as internally as externally, in order for them to be implemented in line. A good example here is, for example, implementation of land acquisition procedures and design services in parallel. Of course, all this wouldn't be achievable without proper team. Due to this end, we are consolidating our resources. This year we had incremental increase in our project capacities. We are up to proceed in the same manner next year and have sufficient resources in order to meet project implementation demands and deadlines. As our Vice Minister mentioned as well, we are up to proceed with operations of several lines prior to the official deadline of a project, which is 2030. So due to this end, we are striving to have various facilitation activities in order to meet these higher requirements for the project implementation. And last but not the least, of course, is active consultation with the market. We are constantly going to the market and talking with the marketplace, as well as inviting as local as international players to address us in order to have talks and to proceed with feasible participation within the procurements. Now, with regards to project implementation timeline, in Lithuania, the most advanced or the most major section we have now for today is, of course, Kaunas Latvian border section. In this section, spatial planning procedures and land acquisition procedures are finished. In other sections, spatial planning procedures are up to be finished this year or early next year, as well as land acquisition tenders are still to be signed still this year. With regards to construction works, towards the Latvian border, we already started active construction works and these are expanding. In other sections, construction works are up to be started as of 2026. Of course, traffic management and signaling and electrification systems are due to be installed as of 2025. and testing and commissioning is due to be proceeded as of 2028. Now, with regards to our existing construction strategy in Lithuania, as it was mentioned before, we already started our construction works towards the Latvian border. Those darkish blue sections within my presentation, these are the areas whereas we already started construction works or the tenders are already announced, and the new ones will be announced pretty soon. That means within the scope of this year or early stages of the next year. So we have this section towards the Latvian border basically split into two parts. These called design priority sections, design sections. Each of those design sections is subsplitted, I would say, into 4 subparts, which refer as design priority sections. With regards to construction works partitioning, the scope of the works basically is divided into 3 major parts. The first one is embankment and related structures, the second one is upper track construction, and the third one is, of course, electrification and traffic management system. Now, let's switch to precise lines and precise sections. The first one, as mentioned before, the most major and advanced section is Kaunas-Latvian border section. Spatial planning and land acquisition is already finished. Design is within the progress, as well as the construction works. By saying construction works, I mean already construction works in progress, as well, which refer to the embankment, access roads, as well as the tenders already announced for which we are waiting proposals, and the new tenders which are still to be announced in the immediate future. Now, implementation progress in Polish border Kaunas and Kaunas-Vilnius section. Basically, the maturity is about the same in these sections, so the spatial planning procedures are due to be finished by the end of this year or early stages of next year. Procurement for land acquisition services is announced, and a contract is due to be signed still this year. And design procurements are also announced, and the contract is due to be established within the first half of the second year. As mentioned before, construction works should commence in these sections as of 2026. Now, implementation status in our regional objects, or facilities as we call it. Basically, regional stations in Kaunas-Latvia section and Panevėžys node. Territorial planning is in progress, with sub to be finished by the mid-2024. Infrastructure maintenance depots spatial planning procedure is finished. The procurement of services for land acquisition is announced. Going to the designs, as well the procurement for IMAVE for infrastructure maintenance depots is announced, as well as for Kaunas-Vilnius regional connection, Kaunas railway station, and Vilnius railway node. The contracts due to be signed still this year. So you see that this year is very fruitful for Lithuania. Until the end of this year, we still have much to do. Constructions are due to be commenced as of 2026. Now, I would like to draw your attention to this point-type object plan we had, of which I mentioned. This is the facilitation plan. So basically, what's interesting and what's particular to this kind of activity that we are purchasing land plots on commercial basis. So basically, we are not proceeding with the land acquisition procedure. We are going with commercial procurements. And basically, we will have up to 24 these kind of objects, which will be deployed in Kaunas node and in a section from Kaunas to the Polish border. Land purchases procedures are already finalizing. We already by finalizing, I mean that we are already finalizing those projects, land acquisition in Kaunas node, and already in a major process within the Polish border. The design for these objects, design tender, should be announced still this year. So pay attention, dear market players, and please participate actively in this tender. And construction is due to be started in 2025. Why we're doing this activity at all? Because it involves, of course, additional burden on our team. We're doing that because we believe that in this manner we might save up to 1 year in a project implementation timeline, which refers to the timing of operations towards the Polish border. As it was mentioned before, we are up to start operations by 2028. Now, the major part for market players, procurement. It's worth to mention that our major procurements with regards to the construction works or supervision services, these are conducted under DPS, which is referred to Dynamic Purchasing System. Dynamic Purchasing System consists of 2 major parts. The first part is pre-qualification or qualification, and the second part is the actual application and bidding for the tender. Dear market players, it's very important to understand that in order to submit your bid, you have to be pre-qualified. So if you are not submitting your application for qualification phase, you will not be allowed or you will not be entitled to participate in a second stage. Therefore, I'm stressing this part because under Dynamic Purchasing System, we still have very important tenders ongoing, which refer to laboratory testing and research activities, as well as to construction and FIDIC supervision services, and to actual construction works. According to Dynamic Purchasing System, we are up to announce 2 tenders for construction of embankment and related structures, which totally will transfer to 49 kilometers. The first part of this tender should be announced still this year, and the second part of this tender should be announced at early stages of next year. What's more important to this end is that we are still this year, we are up to announce the tender for upper track construction, and attention, this will be done for a whole line ranging from Kaunas to Latvian border. So basically we will have up to 169 kilometers of upper track construction. Going further to design services, still this year, as I mentioned, this year should be very fruitful. We will have a very, I guess we will have a very tense fourth quarter. Still this year, we are up to announce tenders for the designs. That's for Panevėžys node, Panevėžys Latvian border railway section, after that point-type objects, and of course regional stations in Kaunas Panevėžys line. And of course this will be accompanied by expert and consulting services for Kaunas Vilnius section and Vilnius node. Now, what are our expectations and advices? Dear partners, the only advice is to be proactive, follow our information, and address us in advance prior the factual tenders are announced. In this way, we can find common solution and align, adopt our views in order for all the parties to feel comfortable and have effective partnership at the end of the day. So you can follow our information on our websites as well as on official public procurement websites. You can follow us on social media and contact us directly with regards to ongoing tenders and when tenders still to be announced, or with all other matters with regards to Rail Baltica affairs. Thank you. Let's cooperate.
Thank you, Dovydas. Before we turn to this kind invitation to cooperate, we have a few questions from the audience coming in. First one about the connection to Poland. Rail Baltica will connect to European network through Poland. How does it progress in Poland, and when the link between Lithuania and Polish border and Warsaw will be ready?
Yeah, due to this end, we are in close partnership with our Polish colleagues. I must say we have even 2 or 3 actual working groups within, so the progress is synchronized. And basically our Polish partners, as mentioned before, are up to connect our border earlier than 2030. That's why we also have this impetus to connect the Polish side the sooner as the official deadline of Rail Baltica implementation.
Another question from Fabian, also relating to borders. So it's a broader one, but I think you can also answer it from the Lithuanian point of view. How are connections Estonia, Latvia, and Latvia, Lithuania managed? Is the transition from one implementer to the other directly at the border?
There are, of course, many specialists and working groups are also working on that, and all these activities between Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, which refers not only to physical connections but as well to operation of Rail Baltica, are in constant development, and I believe that operational plan as well as common management of a system will be implemented, but that's within the progress. So basically we are now concentrating on infrastructure development, and afterwards in parallel we are working on a common operational plan.
Thank you. Next question also about scheduling. Very impressive point-type object, the Neris Bridge. Why is the construction of the Neris Bridge going so slowly? Construction started a year ago, but very little has been done so far.
Well, I wouldn't say very little. I would say a lot. If we would look to the milieu in which we are operating, well, this is mainly due to the, I would say mainly due to the inconsistencies in design. However, we always are promoting close cooperation between us and contractor, as well between the designer. We are talking on a constant basis. We are looking for solutions, and basically due to this end, the progress is obvious what we saw within a movie. Of course, everything could be done better, everything could be done faster, and I agree that we have quite complicated questions to solve. However, the progress is obvious, and due to our cooperation and goodwill of the parties, the process is moving forward, and I believe it will be kept in the same manner for a time to come.
Another question about construction just coming in. Estonia, Latvia are building separate structures. Lithuania is building mainline with all structures. Why did Lithuania decide to build the entire DPS at once?
Well, we didn't decide to build the entire DPS at once. Oh, okay, that's the question why we don't do that, right?
Why you did choose a different approach?
No, we didn't choose a different approach, as our Estonian colleague, my Estonian colleague, was elaborating. If we would go to the Kaunas Latvian border section, as mentioned in my presentation, this section is basically divided into 8 subsections. Why is it done? That's also due to the lack of proper technical documentation, and also going from a public procurement side. It was the first section, whereas we announced tenders for construction works. So basically we were learning and experimenting, and we thought that small, let's say, splitting into small parts will entitle more market players to participate and to contribute to the implementation of Rail Baltica. Now, with regards to the whole DPS, so first of all, we have no whole DPS announced for construction works. However, this might be an option. We are not excluding that, because we learned our lessons from Kaunas Latvian border section. And with regards to other sections, which I refer to Kaunas Vilnius and to Kaunas Polish border, it is not excluded that the tender might be announced for a whole section. Even though I can't confirm that, because we are still, our construction strategy for the sections is still under development. That's why we are encouraging and we are aiming to meet as many contractors in order to have a comprehensive view in which way we should proceed further in order to have effective results as time-wise as financially-wise. That's why we already met with the market players from France, from Poland, even from South Korea. And we really encourage all participants of this industry day to approach us and to have contact with us and to discuss and to consult us, because this consultancy will revert to the tenders which are applicable to your situation and will entitle you to participate within our tenders. So I'm not excluding the old DPS. Actually, it's on my mind, and I think it's very convenient, because whenever you have old DPS, you have very few interfaces, which is a less administrative burden. But this is not a fact yet. We'll see.
All right. Your colleague Gust Ashman spoke of infrastructure management. It is known that LTG will be the infrastructure manager of the Rail Baltica section within Lithuania. So a question to the future infrastructure manager. We got these questions twice, so I think it's important to address it. Are there any estimates of the costs of maintenance in the future of the line?
No, I don't have this data. However, I know that, let's say, the department which is in charge at LTG Group for maintenance, we are preparing, and we are also in constant contact. And they are consolidating also resources in order to be ready on time and to have a smooth overtaking of a line in order to maintain it.
Thank you. So, to finalize your presentation here today at the Industry Day, let's get to back to your invitation of cooperation. Maybe you can just point out what the major upcoming procurements are, the major opportunities, and maybe end on a message for the supplier community.
I can start now with a message. Supply community, please address us and consult us actively, because really we're still lacking your proactivity. We know that you are there, but understand that our resources are limited and we can't reach to everyone. So please be proactive and approach us. And to this end, we'll have a comprehensive overview of the market, and you will have an opportunity to have I wouldn't say favorable, but flexible technical specifications in order for you to take part in our tender. Now, with regards to immediate procurements, I would exclude several, I guess. The first one is design for upper track, design for point type objects, which will be announced still this year. Then we have design of Panevėžys node, and then we have design of Panevėžys Polish borderline. So these are really big tenders, and I would kindly invite you to participate. With regards to construction works, I would exclude upper track construction. Then I would exclude those 39 kilometers of which I mentioned in my presentation. As said before, the first tender for these 39 kilometers, for 12 kilometers, should be announced still this year. And the second chunk for 37 kilometers should be announced early next year. So please be proactive and approach us in order to discuss your possibilities to participate in this tender. And what's more, according to our DPS system, as I said, please, DPS system allows you to register through very long period of time. However, the earlier you do it, the earlier you'll be entitled to participate in our exact tenders. So please don't wait too much, register now, it's just a procedure. And in this way, you will be pre-qualified to participate and to bid your proposals for our procurements. Thank you.
Thank you, Davidas.
Thank you.
Again, I want to thank the speakers of this panel, Anvar, Gusts, and Davidas. It's really great to see how this project is moving from strategic planning to actual tangible realization. So, the next part of today's program is a very exciting one. So, since the Rail Baltica project was launched, it has set new quality standards in public procurement, health and safety requirements, as well as other domains. And so the Rail Baltica system engineering team aims to introduce international best practice to systematize the working practices and frameworks to ensure a smooth and traceable project implementation, having safety as the primary objective. I now give the floor to my colleagues, Alvaro Rex Sanchez, Head of System Engineering and Assurance Department, and Maria Angeles de la Sierra Aparicio, Deputy Head of System Engineering and Assurance Department.
Hello. Thank you, Linda. Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Alvaro Rex Sanchez, and I am Head of System Engineering and Assurance Department in RB Rail. And together with my colleague, Maria de la Sierra, we are going to introduce briefly the system engineering methodology concept that is defined for the implementation of the Rail Baltica project, and based on which we aim to build the demonstration that the system has achieved its requirements, and particularly, as was mentioned, the safety demonstration. So, this presentation is going to be split in three parts: the why we need it, the what does it contain, this system engineering methodology, and how we plan at a high level to implement this methodology. So, the target, the scope, and the main reason for these processes to be implemented is that we need to implement a single, integrated, safe, reliable, and interoperable railway system, and we need to build the demonstration. We need to collect a standardized evidence that this is achieved. And this, in this particular project, due to the scale and complexity of the context, this is particularly important. We have 3 countries with 3 different administrations, 3 implementing bodies, national safety authorities, but we also have different subsystems with different suppliers that also come at different times, and the whole line, especially on the infrastructure part, is split in different pieces. So there's no way we can demonstrate such a safe and integrated system if we don't put in place a common framework to provide evidence about that. And on top of that, well, we, as also for this demonstration, but also as a legacy, we aim to increase the awareness of the industry and the suppliers in regards to this safety demonstration. So we will have a consistent way to demonstrate the compliance with these requirements. We will additionally comply with legislation, both locally but also coming from EU, and ultimately we will be able to deliver a unified, coherent system. Particularly important, as I said, is the link with the safety, and this is obviously a mandatory scheme coming from EU directives, particularly the one called the Common Safety Method, that requires a risk management process to be put in place and evidence of application, which is, by the way, assessed and evaluated by an independent certified body, the assessment body, which will produce a report in the end to be handed to the national safety authorities for them to accept the putting in service of the railway line. So, this risk management process has to be backed up or supported by different areas, different processes that will help along the life cycle of the project and for all the parts and systems, subsystems, components that form the whole railway system to collect this common evidence. Those processes, which Maria is going to briefly mention now, are requirements and configuration management, interfaces and integration, verification and validation, as well as design and construction management process, for example. So all of them applied together will allow us to build this demonstration for the application of the risk management process and ultimately the placing in service and all the positive certifications for the line. So I give the floor now to you, Maria, to go in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvaro, and thank you to you, colleagues on the industry. It's a pleasure to be here with you presenting the system engineering processes. As Alvaro mentioned, the structure of the presentation is around three main questions. Now we understand why we need system engineering processes, and in the next steps we will understand what are we putting in place and how we are doing the implementation, how we are tackling the implementation of the system engineering processes. About the what. First, what? What is the scope of applicability of these processes? Of the system engineering processes, and obviously is the system. And there in front of you, you have the railway system, as in the European legislation described. You see also the infra part, split in mainland and facilities, which is the split that we have in this project. And why do I stress that the infra part? It's because we are also going to implement system engineering process in the infrastructure part, in the infrastructure projects. And the point is that when we think about safety, which is our main goal, we tend to think only CCS, to associate safety to CCS subsystem. But this is not so. As we know from the introduction, we need to prove the proper risk management in the system and safety in the system. And this is why infra is also our target. And now that we are delivering, we are finishing the designs, we are starting constructions, I want to stress that is relevant. I want to raise the concern to manage properly safety already in the infra part. And this is about the scope. Second, what? What are the pillars that we are going to implement inside the interface, the system engineering processes and all these requirements interfaces in order to assure that the processes facilitate the safety demonstration? First pillar, the Senelec life cycle. This shall be the V model, the RAMS life cycle, we all know, shall be the life cycle of the Rail Baltica global project. Second pillar, very important to achieve this coherent approach. This is to have common requirements all over the project. And how do we assure this in our project? First, because we have a single contracting scheme for ENE, CCS, and most of the materials contracts. Second, very important, because we have the design guidelines in this project. They are defined and approved by DIBs, the three IBs with RBR together. These are not only a matter of eligibility, all the contractors have to comply with the design guidelines, but they are also a matter of safety demonstration. We need to prove compliance with the design guidelines. Third pillar, towards this safe approach. We have a global RAMS plan for the whole project. This means that we have common safety principles and common risk management methodology approach all over the project. Also, we have a single common operational concept. We have a single system definition with a system architecture reflected in the product breakdown structure. And this architecture, together with common requirements, means that we have a single functional architecture with same scheme for interfaces. And this way, we have kind of a standard specification for all over this project to implement in the whole project. And this, if you think of the V life cycle, this is covering the 5 first stages in the V life cycle. But then we need to understand what are we doing to also cover, to introduce system engineering processes in the rest of the V life cycle. So the rest of the V life cycle, as we all know, are design, construction, manufacture, installation, validation, integration, test and commissioning. So What are we going to do to also implement the system engineering processes there? For design and these phases is when you, contractors, no? You providers in the industry, you will enter in the game, also with us. And as you do what is your expertise to design, to construct, whatever, what we need to put in place is a mechanism to articulate mechanisms with you to be able to collect the data that is later needed for this safety demonstration. What is the data that we need to collect? We need to collect the data about the requirements implementation, which is the status of the requirements. We need to collect the evidence that this status and these works have been done. We also need to collect the history, not only data and evidence, but also the history, how this was done. And not only the sequence. Also, we need to understand and to give clarity what happened in the project. Which were the defects erased? Which were the changes? What was the reason for that? What was the impact? What was the solution, the decision made to solve that, right? All this is part of the requirements process and of the safety demonstration, and supported by the configuration and change management processes. And these are all the things that we need to put in place as process. Then we need support from tools, requirements management tool, asset management tool, and documentation management tools. And this shall be regulated by processes for the specific phases, right? So we will have specific processes for design, for manufacturing, for construction phases. These plans shall be written and agreed, no? Shall be proposed and agreed by contractors and agreed by us, by the project, so that to regulate how every phase is going to run, which is going to be the baseline delivery scheme, which are going to be the products delivered, which are going to be the actors from you that will take place that will work for the project. All this shall be regulated in these system engineering plans. Right? So in the end, what we have is a set of plans which are transversal for the phases, design, construction, manufacturing, integration, test and commissioning processes, right, for the phases, and other supporting processes that take place all over the project, which are requirements management, interfaces management, verification and validation, and configuration management, right? Okay, so this is what do we have to implement. And now I will go to the how. And thinking of the methodology, let's explain that what is a process itself. A process is not, but the goal is to implement a life cycle, right? And we need to put the methodology to be able to implement that life cycle. So we have organizations. This means actors that are going to do the works. We have activities, specific activities related to what we have to do. We have also a flow chart, because the activities there, we need to see the connection between those activities. What comes next? What is the trigger of the next activity? And we need to understand also and regulate, so to say, to have this common comprehensive framework, we need to understand which actors interact with these activities and how, meaning who is responsible, who is supporting, who is informed only, and this is a RATSI matrix. So we will have activities, organizations, flowcharts, and RATSI matrices, and we will have the tooling environment. And all this constitutes a process. Then, about the methodology we are implementing. With the methodology we put in place, we will have a single organization breakdown structure, which is an abstraction for all the project, right? We have a single life cycle for all the phases, meaning that no matter design, construction, manufacturing, we have the single, same scheme, same pattern for the life cycle. And we also have then work breakdown structure. This is the activities. And this is more specific to the different subsystems. But in any case, we see a lot of commonalities in these activities, because the aim is to prove safety. Right? So, and then another way to remark that this part is for the comprehensive, coherent approach all over the project and for all actors and subsystems, but how we are going supporting safety from the methodology, we are introducing, inside this life cycle, inside each phase, we are dividing into sub-phases in which we are introducing revision points. These are gates. These are typical procedural milestones gates process, but this is also this was also assessed by our safety assessors, ASBO, our ASBO, to include that as a means to have control on the proper implementation of the process in a more granular basis, right? So after every sub-phase, the implementation, the preparatory phase, the execution, the compliance, the whatever, so in every phase, we will introduce these checking points to be able to decide, together with the contractor and client, what was done, if this is according to the criteria expected, and to make a decision whether the project can move on or we still need to go back and to improve some parts. By this, what we are doing, we are improving traceability, we are enhancing accessibility, there will be pure clarity, and we will be collecting everything step by step, granularly. And in this way, we will be enhancing also an early detection of problems in the system. Then going a bit deeper in the how, and more deeper because this is about the tool that we are going to use. We mentioned already, we have some pillars that enable already this comprehensive approach all over the project, which is a coherent approach also, which is to have a single system concept. We have a single product breakdown structure. There is another pillar in this project, very important, which is asset orientation. Our methodology is asset-oriented, and this, together with the requirements tool in the project, we are creating a common platform, a single common platform, where we will be able to see assets implemented, and this means that we are not only able to see requirements there, we will be specific objects, specific assets with requirements inside, and we will be the specific requirements implemented in that specific object, and we will be able to associate that to a location, right? So this asset orientation will be also trackable in this platform. In the platform, in this requirements tool, we will integrate to the documentation system as a means to have already integrated their access to all the documentary evidences. In the platform, we will be able to enforce the organization and the activities. Then we will also, this platform shall also be it will be the database for data for defects, and changes, and also the database for hazards and for risk management. And such a platform shall be like the unique source of truth, so to say, for assessors to look later into the evidences, how the project was implemented. And such a comprehensive approach, I dare to say, correct me if I'm wrong, that such a platform with asset-oriented database for defects, changes, hazards, risks, with full traceability, also for integration and validation parts, is quite a unique approach in the industry those days. And then, well, going a bit deeper, but this is just details, how a requirements management tool look like, in case you didn't have access so far to that. Here you can see which is the level of detail of information that we can track in a requirements tool. So if you have the time to see the details, you will see perfectly recorded there the requirements, the sources for that, even the chapters or in the norm or whatever the source is, the text in several languages. You can already see actors and responsibilities defined there. You can see the verification strategy specified and linked specifically to each requirement. You can see also the implementation part, where every object in the end is located. So everything that I mentioned, you can see there how this is implemented in reality. And then, just to finish the presentation, going back to the first slide, just like closing the loop, just to mention that these are our targets, these are our great challenges, I would say. This is the benefits we need to obtain. And the value proposition was to implement system engineering processes in order as a means to achieve that. And with this presentation, I think we have a view how really these system engineering processes will be a means to allow us to get these benefits, to overcome these challenges and to reach these targets. Thank you. This is it.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. So we have quite a few questions that came in during your presentation.
Okay.
First one is a very practical one. What is the meaning of abbreviations OBS and WBS shown on the slides?
What are the meaning of this abbreviation?
Yes.
Organization breakdown structure and a work breakdown structure. And they are quite usual terms in system engineering terminology, no? And in the domain, right? To define the organization that you rely on, and which is the working force, no? The activities that these organizations shall implement. And also there is scope, the responsibility split for that, right?
All right. I will ask a question to the head of this department, because I like a bit provocative questions. So isn't system engineering duplicating a number of existing supervisory and conformity assessment activities already prescribed by law?
Okay, no. Answer is no. I'll take that one. This is not a duplication because this is not an assessment. What we aim to achieve with this methodology, as said at the beginning, is that we need to compile a consistent and standardized evidence of compliance with these regulations so that the assessment can positively conclude that the system and all its parties, its components, are safe, interoperable, and integrated with each other. So this is not overlapping or duplicating any existing assessment or regulation. This is the way that the project, due to the complexity that and the scale that I mentioned at the beginning, is going to achieve this common demonstration. But it's not, again, a duplication.
Thank you.
That was not too bad. You
Very
said
good.
it was a provocative.
It was a clear answer, no, and you elaborated.
Yes.
Very good.
Okay.
So, two questions that are related. One of them, what will be in practical terms the obligations of a supplier in regard to system engineering processes? And we had somewhere also a question, how does it actually work? So I think these are related.
Okay, I can start and then
please.
you complement.
You are the head.
In practical terms, as Maria was saying, we are going to have, or we have, a set of documents, a set of processes applying to different areas of the project, where the different responsibilities and accountabilities for every party, not only for suppliers, but also for the project and different entities within the project need to apply, so that depending on the subsystem, component, material and phase that the supplier is participating in the project, a particular piece of these responsibility matrices will apply, and that will be known and obviously presented, and it's already described in the processes. And based on that, these processes also will highlight or will define which kind of evidence the supplier has to produce in a particular way, because the project is also producing the framework for this application of the processes in terms of tools, in terms of templates, in terms of format. So at the beginning of any supplier-contractor relationship with the project, this will be presented, introduced, and well, initial training, if you want, will be done. But then every supplier will need to comply with this by making sure that these evidences are produced according to the processes, and the project obviously will supervise that this is so.
Mm-hmm.
And Maria, I don't know if you want to add something.
No, because I mean, I don't want to repeat myself. This was already explained you perfectly, so okay. I think it's clear.
Another question related to systems engineering is the existence of a require management software tool was mentioned. So how will these suppliers get access to the tool and interact with it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's my turn, right? Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, let's say that requirements management software tool, requirements management tools can be used to track software, but this will not be our case. We are not going to track the software of the providers. We are going to track only requirements management in that tool, right? And this is for any product, no matter software, hardware, whatever. And about the system of this tool and how will the suppliers access to that, yeah, the point is the platform, this generic platform that I mentioned, this is going to be provided by Rail Baltica Global Project. All actors shall work in that platform, and they can have their own system engineering environments for sure, but in the end, the common platform will be the final place to update all the information for us to have available, right? The access to the platform, of course, there will be actors with determined roles. There will be maybe developers, testers, whatever, acting in these designers, sorry, not developers, designers, verifiers, checkers, acting in this platform. They will have different roles, different permissions, different access rights, and the access of these persons will be through licenses. Then what else? Yeah, you mentioned that there will be a training, of course, because whatever tool we are using, in the end, is not about, this will not be a general training of the tool. It will be a training of the tools and the platform in the scope of Rail Baltica Global Project, and according to our specific implementation and configuration. Right, so yeah, and contractors, everyone, contractors, as our contractees, and everyone, assessors, will have access to that platform, as defined in the processes. And yeah, well, then this is it. I think mostly every contractor will have to have a system, a requirements management process, for instance, to specify more exactly which exactly will be that persons interacting, and some other details. So, well, these are the means how we will interact through plans, training, and this general platform, actors with different roles being trained and guided by the project management, the delivery organizations, which is us. So this is it.
All right. With the next question, I will take a personal risk. As I'm novel to the field of system engineering, this question might not be related. So
okay.
You tell me. Question, Lars Zimmermann. Do you consider track and tracing technology as a technology to increase your compliance safety management system? Is that something that relates to system engineering, or did I just shoot completely wrong?
Not sure what track and tracing technology means.
What
exactly.
is meant?
Mm-hmm.
So,
as summarized a bit during the presentation, when we talk about risk management system and the demonstration about that, any, again, component requirement subsystem that needs to comply with some safety requirements will need to provide a methodology and an evidence how these risks
exactly.
are mitigated. And in general, there is not a single way to mitigate risks, and this is what the exercise is always on the side of the project, to demonstrate how the risks are mitigated. So there might be different technologies like this track and tracing methodology to mitigate some risks. If that is the case, and any supplier is applying this methodology for that, of course, it can be part of the risk or safety management process.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Let's say that we are implementing the system engineering processes as a global platform, global support, but then, for instance, the verification or validation strategies, integration. This is defined by every contractor, and in this verification, validation, integration plans. And there, the proposal of the methodology to use, this shall be proposed by there are methodologies already stated by the project, but there is also already always option to improve or to propose the methodologies, and this shall be done in these system engineering plans, verification, validation, integration plans, to be approved by the Rail Baltica global project. So if this methodology useful for that, this will be matter of discussion, proposal from contractor, and acceptance by our Rail Baltica global project.
All right, thank you. Still some questions. So what are your ideas on model-based system engineering and digital twins for signaling design? Or is that a bit...
Well, this is more matter. Exactly, these are technologies that are used for design, but as we said, we are not. This is the matter of the contractor itself. So we are not working in the provider's point of view. We are not delivering the products. We are not designers of the products. What we need to trace is what is implemented, right? So we have our requirements and your methodologies to design or your techniques. This is up of decision to the providers. What we need to trace is the evidence that our requirements are fulfilled and that evidence, the verification, integration was properly done. So for internal development of the products, we have not a word there. This is the industry, the providers deciding, and as infrastructure managers or supporters of the infrastructure managers, we responsible for this project, we just care for that results and the correct implementation of the requirements. And in the end, the safety demonstration.
Correct. All right. Well, that's all from my part. Thank you very much for introducing this very important subject.
Thanks a lot
for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So, throughout the project implementation, cooperation with our suppliers and partners has been key to the successful implementation of the project. So I give the floor to Christian Pirsalu, Director of Contracting Strategy at RB Rail AS, who has been working with project implementers in the market to find out what the best solutions are going forward. Christian, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. And it seems that we are ahead of the agenda with this event. So this, I would say, is a very good example of project acceleration, efficiency and precision. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you here once again. I will tell you a little bit about how to prepare for large-scale construction from the strategic viewpoint. And first of all, let's take a look at how to learn and grow. So with every mega project comes a duration of the timeline, complexity and cost. And all of these are significant. And so it's necessary to ensure that we have the best approaches, that we have the ability to learn as we go along, to adjust, and to make the best decisions along the way. And as you have seen from the presentations earlier on today, we are at the stage where we are gradually completing designs and moving more and more into large-scale construction. So it's a very opportune time for us to look back at what decisions were made before we started the design procurement in around 2017-18, how the decisions were made, the environment that the decisions were made in, how they were implemented, what went well, and where we need to improve. And so when we look at the lessons that we learn, then we also look at how we need to deliver. What are the requirements going forward for us to deliver the project? What are the expectations of the stakeholders? How the financing will be rolled out, and so on. And we have a range of potential improvements that we are thinking about. But all this we cannot really apply and implement without the partners, without the contractors, suppliers, service providers, everyone out there that is watching us. And so we need to understand the capacity and capability of the market, what the market can do, what solutions are out there, what is the acceptability of the approaches, so the improvements that we are thinking about, what is the success rate of these, can they be accepted, not just to look at potential ways of changing in isolation. And also, whilst we are learning and growing throughout the project of Rail Baltica, also our market is learning and growing. So we are very much interested in how the market is learning and growing, what are the views, what are the proposals from the market, what issues the market sees, what are the better ways for us to move ahead, and how we should take the solutions that we're thinking of forward. And when we're looking at the environment, which I mentioned earlier, that we were in several years ago, where we made the decisions, and we have had many challenges along the way, then the major challenges we've had that no one ever expected, and in such a short period of time, first of all, of course, the COVID crisis. We had a major crisis across the world that completely changed supply chains, the way companies operate, the way people work, and how people think, how companies think. This was followed by the aggression of Russia in Ukraine, a very unfortunate event. And this, in turn, brought additional hurdles also to all infrastructure project implementers in terms of sanctions and more. This was followed in turn by the energy crisis and heavy inflation. And this meant that the contracts that were signed before these events were meant for a completely different environment. So suddenly we were in a situation where we had to deal with issues nobody was able to foresee. And for public procurement organizations, this meant completely different challenges. And as you may know, traditionally, public procurement has been quite rigid in its nature, also providing strict boundaries, what can be done, what can be changed, how things can be adjusted, and so new ways had to be found how to deal with challenges. For instance, indexation, which was not applied always as a standard before all this. And as we saw the market stabilize to a certain degree, the energy prices, the material prices were starting to stabilize, then we entered another crisis in Israel, which again has brought the volatility of energy prices back open again. So with this, what we have established, we live in a completely new world today as compared to a few years ago, when, yes, we had some volatile times now and then, but thereafter we always had a period of stability. So now, even when we see certain stability on the market, we can no longer rely on the stability. So the stability that is there, we don't know if it's going to persist, if it's going to stay, or if suddenly things are going to change. So the reliance on stability is no longer there, and that means a completely different approach, completely different thinking. So the best in class, the winners, are the ones that can adjust to the circumstances, to the changes can find solutions to the risks, the problems that occur, who can find new suppliers if some supply chains fall apart or if some supply ceases completely, to find alternatives. That means close cooperation, of course, as well. So this means that we, as clients, contracting authorities, have to think differently. We have to get closer to the market when we are delivering the works that we need to deliver. This in turn means different approaches, which you've also seen earlier today presented, which may differ from what you have heard before and what you expected to see. And this is precisely the reason. And when we are discussing the market, we obviously hear the feedback as well of the market expecting us to be more closely involved in solving problems. So what we do at Rail Baltica, we look at the macroeconomic and microeconomic aspects as well, in addition to having discussions with the suppliers and having the statistics from our tenders. So we look at the market also more widely. And what we see is, from the macroeconomic side across the environment that the project exists in, there is a high volatility in recent years in materials prices across the market. There is high degree of fluctuation in energy prices, and the variability of input costs is high. The number of variables itself has changed. So we may have had times when one or another material price, let's say, fluctuated, or there was some supply issue, so on and so forth. But now we see that more widely. So this means that the construction market is no longer functioning in the same way, according to this information that we see. And the environment for the construction market that it exists in has changed considerably. And when we look at the microeconomic view, and more particularly, what is the Rail Baltica market, and how do these, all these factors impact Rail Baltica and our market, then in addition to undertaking procurement activities, getting feedback from our partners and so on, one of the key tools for us is direct interaction with our partners and our potential partners out there on the market. And this is how we establish, amongst other factors as well, how all these variables impact the success rate of the project and what we need to take into account. And I would like to thank all the suppliers that have already spoken to us and have given us significant input. This has been really valuable, and we hope this continues. So we see that the packaging of contracts is rather crucial as well to deliver the project on time. And as you have seen from earlier presentations today as well, some of the packages have been so to say, transformed from what was presented a year ago, 2 years ago. And this is precisely why we are evaluating the situation as we go on. We're talking to the supply market, we're looking at the project requirements, the environment, the market, and so on. So we're making either decisions to change on the strategic level, if it's necessary, or we get confirmation for our approach and the correctness of our approach. Price indexation is one of the things that is pretty clear. That is a must already in all contracts that are longer than 10, 12 months because of the volatility and because of the open risk that exists otherwise, and because of the potential inability to otherwise resolve the problems in cooperation between us and our partners to implement the project. Closer cooperation, one of the things I mentioned already, is an expectation actually from both sides. So it's something that we expect from our market. to come closer to us, to help us work out the problems that exist to better deliver. And it's also something that many of our potential partners and current partners expect from us. Then what else we learn from the discussions with our suppliers? Regarding technical requirements, one of the things we assess is the way that we currently do things, the way that we scope our requirements. Should we change anything? For instance, when we do detailed specifications describing the process, describing every step, is that the best way to do things, or should we describe more the output? So we leave more openness, more flexibility for the partners to apply the best technological solutions, to offer the best benefit according to the methods that they usually apply, and thereby also reducing the potential variations, claims, and so on, which is always a hurdle for any party. Then we look at risk management. This is also something that we have to deal with differently, and as you saw from earlier today, one of the proposals of engaging alliance contracts, then this is something where risks will be addressed completely differently. It will be a shared teamwork in terms of addressing risk. And this is one of the things where we see from feedback both within the project and from our supply market that there is expectation to help the implementation, to accelerate the implementation and problem solving by having common teams. And also something that the market has told us, that you out there have told us, is that you expect more support from the client in dealing with certain challenges, such as facilitating perhaps stakeholder discussions because of different levels of access that we may have to the stakeholders. And these are the things that we have to assess going forward, how best we do that. Now, some of the examples where we see really important benefit from the discussions that we're having with our market-based contractor suppliers, the practical aspects of how we intend to implement, and these we have to take into account before we enter the packaging or establishing the procurement requirements and contractual requirements. For instance, winter working. So we may have an understanding that there are considerable challenges coming up because of winter working or the restrictions that it provides the contractors. But when we work together with the contractors, when we discuss with them, we discuss various different solutions, and we see that actually when we work closer together, when we really discuss the essence of these challenges, we can find ways around it, and it no longer becomes a problem. So this is one of the potential positive impacts to the project, is finding these ways how to work around these challenging times. Access availability as well, and a locality of materials and logistics, these are sort of combined in a way. We understand, because of this communication with our supply base, that when we have most optimum access ensured and already in advance thinking about the potential excess availability and also locality of materials and availability of local quarries, this is something that especially local companies have very good understanding of, because they work on a daily basis with materials, with different projects and so on, and we can gain together a great understanding how to meet these challenges. How can we get around of difficult areas in terms of, let's say, we have certain forest areas where the access points are limited. So what can we do? What additional access can we ensure in advance, and how we do that? What are the actions that we can do now that help us 2 years from now? And also, the availability of materials changes with all the projects. So when we think about all the infrastructure projects that go on in the Baltics, then the availability changes. There are some restrictions on one quarry that are not in another. There are some restrictions that have been maybe put in place because of the local inhabitants or the awareness of the projects, maybe the disturbance to local inhabitants and so on. And working together, we can understand these issues and we can ensure that there is enough buffer, there are enough access routes to the sites, and enough access points to make sure that there is availability of materials, machinery, and people to make the project a success. Currently, we are also carrying out various discussions with the supplier market, and if there are any suppliers out there that would like to give us the input, we're more than happy to get that. So please do get in touch with us through the project website or by email or through LinkedIn, whichever is your preferred medium. One of the things that's important to address, a question that we get often, especially from international companies, is why would one want to come to the Baltics? Why would a company operating elsewhere want to come here? What is the continuity of business? And it's a completely understandable and justified question when we think about that before Rail Baltica, there has been no high-speed railway project in the Baltics. And this is one of the challenges for us. It has been one of the key challenges as we've built this project is how do we create the market whilst we're going on and whilst we're procuring? And it is a challenge. However, Rail Baltica is such a big project that throughout the project implementation itself, it provides the continuity and it provides sufficient amount of work for any company wanting to come here. And in addition to that, when we talk about continuity, there are also many other incentives. There is an incentive of the current existing railways to be transferred to 1435. There are many incentives, many upcoming projects relating to the energy sector and Green Deal, for instance, and also other infrastructure projects and roadworks that are happening across the region, across Baltics. So there is reason to come, reason to participate, and we're very open to the suppliers, and we take into account the information and input that we receive into our consideration as well. So to summarize, what we need to do going forward and what we are doing is that we look at the project requirements, we look at the environment we are in, what we need to deliver, then we look at what the market can deliver, what the solutions are out there, what are the key issues and risks, and then we bring that all together into the packaging, into both strategic and tactical decisions, even in situations or cases where we're not drastically changing the packaging in terms of the types of sections and the types of contract. Then the question is how we package it within the contract, what are the indexation mechanisms that we need to apply, because there is no one solution fits all. What kind of pricing and payment models there are, how frequent the payments need to be, what are the advance payments, and so on. So all these solutions will come together looking at all this information in a bigger picture. And with that, full steam ahead. So thank you from me.
Thank you, Christian. So we will meet each other a bit later when we have a dedicated Q&A panel. But now the final session before the panel, a session dedicated to one of the key subjects of interest for the Industry Day, procurements. After the following presentations, so right now I would like to invite you all to scan the QR code again, because after these presentations, as mentioned, we will have a discussion panel. There are already many questions relating to procurements, contractual strategies, also operational questions, but make sure to use this time also to add some further questions. So, without further ado, now please welcome first the Head of Procurement at the Rail Baltica joint venture, Martin Blaus. After him, Aige Benfelde, Deputy Head of Procurement for Rail Baltica joint venture, and then Eline Saule to finish the session, Procurement Manager at Rail Baltica joint venture.
So, hello. It is always a pleasure to take the stage after Christian, since he already outlined and went into detail about significance of the procurement and procedures and processes, methods and technologies applied to success. I will then continue about briefing and bringing you overview about the procurement plan of 2023, current activities and insights of future procurement plan of 2024. I wouldn't say it was, since it is another busy year in procurements of Rail Baltica project. I will guide you through the activities of joint venture procurements today, since you heard already information about the national implementing body plans and procurement current statuses. So looking back to this year's procurement activities, we had a lot of work to do with the main tasks of the project assigned to joint venture, and these were continued 12 very demanding procurement exercises, which we carried on from the previous procurement plans. Still, we managed to launch 14 new procurement exercises this year, and in combination with the existing framework agreements, where we manage in the fields of legal supplies, legal services, expert services. Altogether, we managed 30 procurement activities. There were as well some procurement exercises which has been left to the end of the year. Some of them will be launched. I will introduce you with these opportunities later in the slides, but some of these activities shall be as well postponed, wouldn't say, but shall be launched beginning of the next year. Speaking about those 12 demanding procurement exercises, which we as well handled and managed over this year, coming from previous years, these were, of course, consolidated procurement for the supply of materials, speaking about multi-duct cable channels, speaking about rails, sleepers, turnouts, and railway ballast. Most of these activities are coming to the finalization. We are strive to complete procurement-related activities and enter into contracts. You see that most of these will be finished beginning of next year. Last steps of the negotiations and alignment with the suppliers are taking place currently. For the as well very significant and cross-Baltic procurements, we have common signaling subsystems design and build contract and energy subsystems design and build contract. These procurements as well are ongoing in the phases of second stage, either to be launched, either already in. Therefore, negotiations will take place over the next year beginning, and will go closer to finalization. Then, not less important is electronic document management system. So this tool is closely related as well to consolidated materials, because this tool includes many interfaces with suppliers, with existing contracts, and as well to be concluded contract soon, beginning of next year, to begin implementation activities. From those procurements which are ongoing as well, worth to mention design procurements in Lithuania. Those ones are as well in the phases of the second stage, and submission deadlines there would be as well close to be announced closer to end of the year, beginning of next year, each then separately. If we go to procurement plan of this year, we have managed as well, in the course of managing existing procurement, launched new procurement exercise more or less related to operations of joint venture and Rail Baltica project needs. Then we have as well procurements which are worth to mention, which are opportunities to be considered by the market, closer still to be launched this year. And one I would like to brought up is design procurement for Riga mainline section from Riga airport to Upasleis. And as well, of course, IT equipment procurement. As you see, a couple of these exercises are very close to end of this year. Therefore, these might be shifting to the beginning of the next year. And if we look into the next year's procurement plan, this is very indicative information that we have currently established. Mostly these exercises are related to operational needs and covers the contracts which are closing, which are ending soon, and we have to put in place another agreements. Therefore, suppliers who has not got a chance to become as a supplier for joint venture, follow up the information that we have in our website. Soon as well, procurement plan at the beginning of next year will be published. Therefore, you will be able to observe the possibilities and opportunities to become as a supplier of Rail Baltica project. Here I would like to mention a couple of opportunities that will be launched very soon, either still this month, either in December. So as I mentioned, detailed technical design procurement for Riga mainline section part, and it's planned to be launched by end of this year. Then we have IT equipment, very important procurement for operations, the framework agreement for supply of many IT-related equipment, including computers and rest of the equipment. Then we have, of course, another very specific procurement, which is design review and approval process improvement, so-called Six Sigma procurement. This will be launched on our webpage as well shortly. Please pay attention, and suppliers get ready to become as our tenderers and participants. Translation services is the next one. Another thing I want to mention to all of those who are participating in our procurements, who are suppliers already, who has participated and has not been successful, shortly there will be introduced supplier survey of Rail Baltica, and there will be chance to provide us with the feedback, which is very important part of our procurement exercises. This is where you have a chance to express either your either procurement regulations, either the procedures and processes, communication was successful for you, was either there were any places for improvements that you might suggest us to do. So basically, this is very important measurement for us to see how well we are doing, how we are performing. Nevertheless, while you didn't spot it, procurement exercises which would become of interest for your company, Meanwhile, waiting for your right chance or opportunity to become as a supplier of Rail Baltica project, there are a couple of tips which you should follow, and these is continuously observe our global project website, keep update with the procurement publishings and information related to opportunities. Seek as well for opportunities to become as a subcontractor, either supplier for the winners of our procurements, because the information about the selected companies is available, and in case you wish to have more detail about such contracts, you can as well contact us, and we will try to provide you with the information necessary. Other things, since project is coming and going fastly in the phase of intensive construction works, more and more construction tenders shall be published, and we'll try to make sure that this information as well is available on our website, and so keep posted on that. Meaning that as well, in future presentations, my colleagues will introduce you with the specifics of Latvian legislation, specifics of pre-tender phase, how to and what sort of activities we undertake before actual procurement procedure starts. So these are market consultations. So pay attention to this detail. It's very significant and will help you to go through the procurement process of RB Rail joint venture. Then people time to time ask me, what is the key for the successful procurement? Well, my answer is simple. It is the people and communication. So this is where I would like to use the chance and say thank you for all of the colleagues of procurement in the Rail Baltica project for a very good job done until now. Thank you. Then I give floor to my colleague, Aiga.
Thank you, Martins. Good afternoon. I'm Aiga Benfelde, and it's my privilege and pleasure to meet you all once again, already for the third year. And my today's presentation will partly be linked to the presentation I did last year, but we find still several of those topics quite significant to be reminded and you to be introduced. So therefore my presentation will be regarding the changes in the public procurement legislation. Before we start with the changes, first of all, I would like to remind, as already colleagues have said, RB Rail as a three Baltic state joint venture is procuring under Latvian public procurement law, and national implementing bodies are procuring under the law of each of the countries, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. Therefore, in my presentation, I will more focus on the changes in the Latvian public procurement law. Also, I can say that we had a discussion with our colleagues, and currently in Estonia and Lithuania, there are no major changes in the legislation. Therefore, we are now focusing more on the Latvian law. And here on the slides, I also have put some links for your information. The link to Latvian e-tendering system, where you can find our procurements, also ongoing ones, and archive. So you can take a look on the opportunities for those procurements where you would like to participate. And also, there is a link to manual how to register in e-tendering system, because you cannot participate in any of our procurements if you're not registered there. It takes a bit of time. It's not a straightforward process. Therefore, I kindly ask you to register in the system if you haven't done it yet. And now going to the subject of this presentation. First is exclusion ground related to the tax debts of the suppliers. So before the threshold in Latvian public procurement law was 150 euros. So it means that any supplier should have less than 150 euros tax debt, both in the residence country of the supplier as well as here in Latvia. Now Latvian public procurement law has actually restored the requirement as it stands in the public procurement directive. So this means that the supplier can have a tax debt in a threshold what is established in the residence country of the supplier. And in Latvia, the supplier has to have at least less than 150 euros tax debt. So it means if, for example, in your residence country, this threshold is 1,000 euros, then this is the amount of tax debts what you can have to participate in the procurements. And here in Latvia, you need to have 150 euros, not more. And I want to remind also regarding these changes that this is something that is applicable to those procurements what have been published starting from 1st of January this year. So this means if we speak about the consolidated material supply procurements, also ENG and CCS design and build and procurements, which have been published in 2021-2022. So for these procurements, these new changes are not applicable. So therefore, please, those suppliers, keep an eye on your tax debts. There, this 150 euro threshold stays for both the residence country of the supplier and also for the Latvian. Second topic, I would say, is the main driver of the procurement process, because without competition, I would say, procurement process would be useless. Therefore, legislator has gone one step towards giving more authorization to the Procurement Commission, Contracting Authority, and also Competition Council. So there are new cases when the Contracting Authority can exclude the supplier in case there are strong indications that these suppliers have an agreement which is disturbing or restricting the competition. And that in such case, actually, the contracting authority can already exclude a supplier, not waiting for the court decision which has been taken and been unappealable. And also for the Competition Council here in Latvia, this authority has been extended, so also the opinion of this Competition Council can be as an argument or justification for the Procurement Commission to exclude the supplier. So therefore, again, it's not only the court's decision, but also a Competition Council opinion that can be used as a reasoning for exclusion. As usually, there are some exceptions. I would say the main exception is the years. So if 3 years have been passed from the court decision or the moment when this violation of competition has been established, if these 3 years have been passed, then it means that the Procurement Commission is not allowed to exclude the supplier. And also exception is in those cases if that particular supplier has been cooperating with this particular authority, state authority, and this supplier has received immunity. So this means that with this cooperation, that supplier has taken off this restriction to be excluded. Going forward to the list of the persons who must be checked against the exclusion grounds, here again, legislator has extended the list. So there has new persons in the list added that previously we did not check. beneficial owner is one of them. Yes, we checked it in light of sanction law, but not public procurement law. Now it is also here. And also the persons with the decisive influence. This is something new. So therefore, when you apply to the procurement and you are addressing also with your documents non-existence of exclusion grounds, it is important that you identify those persons in your company and you already address this topic in the documents when you submit your exclusion ground documents to the Procurement Commission. And also with regards to subcontractors, then there this threshold has been lowered, so it means that previously the Procurement Commission had to check exclusion grounds against those subcontractors to whom only 10% of the total contract value has been subcontracted, and now it is lowered to 10,000 euros. So I would say in our project this means that almost every subcontractor attracted to our contracts has to be checked. Continuing subcontractors topic, two items what I wanted to emphasize during the procurement process. Please be aware that you are allowed to indicate and include in your proposal several subcontractors for the same scope. So it means if you, during the procurement process, you don't know exactly with which solution you will go further during the contract execution, or there are different options, it is allowed for you to indicate several of those subcontractors for the same scope, and then during the contract execution to decide and choose with which of them, one of them or several of them you want to basically during contract execution perform the works. And in this case, yes, you have the possibility to indicate all of them, but it means also that all of them will be checked against the exclusion grounds. Other thing is that during contract execution as well, at any point in time, you are allowed to add any new subcontractor, either by substituting one of the existing ones or adding a completely new one subcontractor. But then again, please be aware that these subcontractors will be checked against non-existence of exclusion grounds. And getting to the end of my presentation, one new item, what is now introduced in the public procurement law of Latvia that was not there before. But I would say in our Rail Baltica project we are applying it from, I would say, day one. This is economically most advantageous criteria. And now in the public procurement law it is clearly stated for which subject matters this meet criteria is mandatory to be applied. So as I said, I would say in Rail Baltica we have this practice since day one for the design and build procurements. We usually use not only price but also other criteria, and here some of them have been mentioned also as a good practice, and I can confirm that also these ones and other ones we are applying in our all main procurements. So thank you. This is all from my side, and thank you, and looking forward meeting you in our procurements. And now I give floor to my colleague Elina.
Dear participants, it's my pleasure to be here today. My name is Elina Saule, and I am procurement manager in RB Rail. My colleagues previously talked about various procurement-related topics, but today my focus will be on the beginning phase of all procurements, which is market research, market consultations, and effective supplier communication. during all phases of the procurement. It is really important for Procurement Commission to ensure that all of the public procurement main principles have been followed. And these are transparency, honoring free competition, equal and fair treatment, and of course also effective use of the funds of Rail Baltica. And if we talk about the planning stage, which includes early communication between contracting authority and suppliers, then it is the most crucial part to have this understanding of the industry trends. So actually you can apply those public procurement principles. So why supplier communication is such an important part of the procurement? Well, first of all, it's because in the planning process for all of the procurements that there are many questions that need to be answered. And it can be done only by involving persons who have expertise in the specific field of the industry. So the first thing that should be questioned is the scope. So we have to define the scope of the services. For example, if we have procurement related to the supply of services, there are many connected questions. Whether installation is necessary? What about training of the employees? Also, what about guarantee services? So basically, we must understand all the final deliverables of the procurement. So secondly, it is identifying potential suppliers. It may be so that for the specific procurements, there are just few suppliers because it's so unique subject matter or complex subject matter that this cannot be done by many competitors. And actually, for Procurement Commission, it is really important to understand this diversity of the interested suppliers because it will definitely define the requirements which will be set then accordingly in the regulations. And then we head on to the estimation of the contract price. So how much the services works currently costs at the market. Are there any additional costs? So these aspects will influence also what procurement procedure will be chosen. Because if this procurement subject matter is complex, as I mentioned before, definitely there will be necessity to conclude negotiations. And that means that one of the two-stage procurements most probably will be chosen. For example, competitive procedure with negotiations. Of course, this chosen procurement procedure will influence then also the timeline. And two-stage procurement will definitely be longer than just simple procurement, which is small procurement or open competition. The common procurement standards and guidelines for Rail Baltica project. So these are publicly available regulations, and it is basically minimum set of the requirements. And this is for the qualification requirements that needs to be included while drafting procurement documentation. But there is a possibility to deviate from these requirements. So in cases to widen the competition, but by ensuring that the quality is not then set less than expected. So why is it important for suppliers to actually engage in this early stage? Because they can give this feedback to the contracting authority that these requirements, for example, are too high, or maybe there aren't many competitors in the market that can actually ensure compliance with these requirements. So we are really waiting for your feedback. What about market research and market consultation methods? There are several market research methods. Of course, here are not mentioned all of them, but for example, it may be email communication by sending to the suppliers exact questions in the emails. Then, of course, online research from the company's official websites. Then online surveys sent to the suppliers, and involvement of internal or external experts. I can also add to this list, for example, brochures, booklets from the exhibitions, and so on. Then about market consultations. There are two types of market consultations, and both of them has completely different meaning. This first market consultations, which you can see, is conducted with an aim to have more information about the procurement, or to inform interested suppliers about published procurement plan and requirements. So basically it means that after market research, contracting authority still has many questions, and that's why we are announcing these public market consultations. About them, you can usually find the information on our website, and all the details I will tell you in the next slides. And then second type of the market consultations is done if procurement commission feels like in this particular procurement competition may be not so wide. So in case procurement commission receives only one proposal, they would have a chance to not terminate the procurement but continue with this one supplier. And I will tell you a little bit in more details. So these market consultations which I talked about are published with the aim to inform participants whether regarding procurement plan or to gain more information about procurement that will be published. And of course, after those market consultations, we always publish in our website the report with main conclusions and questions asked from the contracting authority side, and also, of course, interested suppliers may ask the questions or, let's say, provide concerns, if any. And then the second type of market consultations. So I will remind that this is done if the contracting authority feels like there may be a chance that competition will not be sufficient. So they are ensuring that they can continue also in case only one proposal is submitted. And in this case, you will find in electronic procurement system of contracting authority published technical specifications and published qualification requirements. So basically, this is like just few steps from publishing procurement. We have already technical specification, we have already qualification requirements, and also agreement maybe. And then there are at least 10 working days for interested suppliers for commenting. Any concerns, any questions, any comments can be added. After these market consultations have been concluded, of course, Procurement Commission assesses all the comments, and then it is up to the Procurement Commission to decide whether to change something or not. And previously, my presentation was focused on the pre-tender stage, but just as a kind reminder, because I cannot emphasize enough the importance of involvement in the process while a supplier can still do it. So after we publish the tender, there is still a possibility to ask questions and also to ask for amendments. Of course, with objective justification and reasoning why it needs to be done so. So please check that you are aware of requirements, that you can actually participate. Maybe you have to also apply to this procurement with some partners or made a partnership if you cannot fulfill some of the requirements. And we are close to ending this presentation and summary of key points. So first thing, please share your market knowledge, because without your opinion, without your expertise, it is really difficult to move further with procurement. And then also you can gain something while participating in market research and if you have early involvement in this process, because public procurement has strict rules, strict regulations, and by involving you will know what requirements will need to be fulfilled, and yeah, to understand a little bit more about public procurement law of Latvia. And about this I already talked before. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. And of course, choose your partners wisely in case you cannot fulfill, for example, economic financial standing requirements or any other requirements of the regulations. So thank you a lot.
All right, thank you, Elina. As we get ready for our panel discussion, and before I welcome my colleagues back, a reminder to all of you that you can still ask questions. We will try to respond to as many as possible. If we don't, we will actually reply in writing and publish these answers after the event. I see that we have already quite a few questions that have come in, questions related to procedural matters as well as strategic matters, so I think it will be a good panel. One of the questions is what exact procurements will be announced in the nearest future. So we heard bits of it already in the previous presentations from the national implementing bodies. Martin Blaus did a strategic overview of what is to be expected in the next year. And anyways, I want to remind you that all our procurements are visible on the Rail Baltica website. And now I welcome my colleagues on the stage who have already arrived in an unorganized manner. So welcome back Christian, Aiga, Martin, Elina, and also joining us on Zoom, Jean-Marc Bedmar, our Head of Systems and Operations Department. Jean-Marc, can you hear us?
Yes, very well. Hello, good afternoon.
All right, I hope that the audience hears Jean-Marc well. We don't hear him very well from here, but all right. So first, warm-up question, how do you all feel closing this third edition of the Rail Baltica Industry Day?
Great.
Feels like anniversary.
Yeah.
3 years anniversary.
Yeah, I would say great. It's great to be here and to have so many suppliers tune in. This is always very useful for us as well.
All right, great to be here. You feel great. The project is a great project. And the weather is okay as well. All right. So let's get started. As I said, some of the questions are procedural and easy to answer. For instance, we got this actually twice. Is it possible to see who wins the tenders? Aiga?
Yes, of course. This is publicly available information, so you can find this information both in our website, railbaltica.org, under respective tender. Also, as I mentioned in my presentation, in our Latvian e-tendering system, you can see all ongoing procurements and also the archive. And in the archive, you can see to whom this procurement has been awarded. And also, the third option is Latvian Procurement Monitoring Bureau website, where you see all publications, all the ones which are above EU threshold goes also to TED publication website. Therefore, there are at least 4 or 5 places you can find this information by choosing RB Rail as a search.
All right.
If I may add on this, but
yes.
if there is such interest from the market to have this overview of the signed contracts, most probably on such inquiry we can post this on our webpage as well, so to be more transparent.
Great idea. I think it is of interest because it also relates to other questions we have, for instance, for companies who are interested in subcontracting opportunities. Maybe you can comment on this. For one of the most popular questions currently is your recommendations how material suppliers should reach main contractors with proposed production. Email writing for tender winners doesn't work. Other creative ideas?
Maybe if I start with the discussion and my colleagues can add in. This is one of the things that we understand is challenging. We've seen a lot of market feedback on this actually. It's not just about supplies as such, I think it's about also a partnership between local and international contractors. And this is where the challenge for a contracting authority is that we are not able to affect the market. We cannot interfere with pointing out particular contractors to be approached, as we have to be impartial. But what helps here is the transparency that we provide, which was mentioned earlier, that we publish information on our website and on national e-tendering websites, where it is possible to see what are overall requirements that we have, the packages, what is the documentation that we publish, and also the companies that qualify and win tenders. So this helps to understand what our supplier base is and find the partners. We understand the challenge that exists for international partners potentially finding local subcontractors here, and this can be challenging. So we understand the challenge, and we're continuously trying to find better ways how to facilitate that. But there is also only so much that we can do before it can be classified as interference, which we cannot be encouraging that territory really. But perhaps if my colleagues want to add.
Yeah, well, the information most probably is the key, which companies to approach for materials. That's very important to as well then to seek the information about the contracts they have signed, the technical specification, what are their responsibility of, and what they're responsible for, which works and which sort of materials are required there. So this most probably as well involves a little bit effort from the suppliers where they wish to become subcontractors. They should most probably study a little bit information that we have provided already. So, but the idea of combining somewhere single source this information was probably something that we'll think about it.
All right. So a question related potentially to subcontracting opportunities, but primarily I wanted to ask this also because it was one of the key interests that was mentioned quite a few times upon registration, is updates about the CCS and a contract. So I think this question is twofold. From the one side, I would like to have maybe Jean-Marc speak a bit also from a content point of view, and from a procurement side, Aiga could maybe also present what the next steps are.
If I may start, and then Jean-Marc can supplement. Regarding the procurement, I think in several presentations you have already heard, Thierry was presenting, Martin was presenting where we stand, but to remind, so both of these procurements are ongoing. For energy subsystem, we have, I would say, quite in mature place of second stage of the procurement, so we are looking forward to receive the proposals at the very beginning of next year. So it means in mid or Q3 of 2024 we will sign the contract for the electrification of whole Rail Baltica line. With regards to CCS as well, this procurement is ongoing. We are preparing the second stage to be launched. This should happen this year still, so we can make this happen and contract to be signed by end of next year.
Thank you. Jean-Marc?
Yes, maybe I can just add that this contract, these two procurement for electrification and for CCS are one unique procurement on covering the three stage. The three states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. So that's basically the unique procurement for electrification and the unique procurement for control command signaling that are going to happen on Rail Baltica. So that's very important to keep in mind, because this is exactly targeted to ensure the unicity of the railway systems among the three states.
All right, thank you. Next question goes to Elina. Companies that are interested in these chances to start participate or continue participate in tenders, and they see some potential like directions where that would suit their companies, how can they make this known that they are interested? Is there an early application to notify that they would like to participate in market consultations or something? What is the procedure?
Mm-hmm. It depends, of course, at what stage is the procurement. Is it announced, or is it like pre-stage, like you mentioned, Linda, market consultations? If these are publicly announced market consultations, then this all information, of course, is mentioned in the website. Usually it's by sending an email application to the exact person and appointing one or several representatives from the company. But of course also prior market consultations, it is possible to let's say send an email, and we were anyways send it to the communication team or someone who is planning the whole process of the procurements.
If I may add, I think our newsletter is also one of the items which is important for the information for the suppliers to receive, and maybe if it is a market consultation, we actually are issuing this in our newsletter, so they can see that it's their possibility to engage with us before the procurement actually is announced. So please subscribe.
And if I may add on this, once the procurement plan is published, and you see that there is a plan of having such procurement somewhere over the year, and you found this information at the beginning of the year, you can and you should as well send your company information to railbaltica.org, procurement at railbaltica.org, so that we can list you already if there will be market consultations taking place, that you will be introduced of such an opportunity, definitely.
Very comprehensive response, thank you. Next question goes to Christian, and I think you'll like it. So, what indexing clauses, fuel, energy, steel, concrete, labor cost, etc., have you implemented into your material supply or works contracts? So I think we have to contextualize this question, maybe not so specifically, but indexation is something that we should include. However, processes are quite lengthy to implement, so maybe you can comment rather on why are changes to strategic and contractual approaches coming so slowly?
Okay, so let's tackle both of these topics. So first of all, I will not maybe go into too much specifics on one particular item, as we have different solutions depending on the type of contract and whether it's materials contracts, which Martin can perhaps elaborate on more precisely how we take into account in the indexation all the various different input cost items. But looking at the indexation topic overall, this is where what I mentioned also in my presentation, what is really important is the feedback from the market and the collaboration on a general level, first of all, to understand the concerns that are out there. And there is no one best solution for indexation. The question is simply how much risk is still open once you have indexation applied. So can we find the most optimum solution for a particular contract? And here we are very much open actually to any suggestions. We have a range of solutions that we have applied, and we have other solutions that we are thinking of. But if any suppliers, partners out there have some solutions that they have applied or they have seen or experienced that work really well, we're open to see them. So feel free to get in touch, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation in depth about that. Now, the indexation mechanisms overall, they have to consider the specifics of the contract and what are the input costs and variables. Is it steel? Is it labor? Is it concrete? Is it something else? And how we then address that. So it's a proportion and it's a risk that we have to address. And this we're doing to various degrees in different contracts in different countries together with the implementing bodies as well. When we're thinking about solutions and contracting strategy approaches and why they're coming slowly, as it was mentioned in the question, yes, the project is really big. And there is a prevalent practice that exists in the Baltic countries already before this project. And as the project grows, also people learn, people grow, decision makers are more open to the specifics of the project delivery, and we find out better ways of doing things. What we have to keep in mind is that this is one of a kind project that hasn't existed, or such kind of project hasn't been delivered in the Baltic countries before. So obviously there is no kind of background knowledge to how best to deliver that. And as we deliver the project, we seek out the best experts from within the Baltic countries and also from elsewhere outside the Baltics, bring them together, talk to the market, talk to our peers, other projects elsewhere in Europe. We find better ways of doing things, but all this takes time and effort and decision making. And of course, project develops while we're doing that. So there's a natural evolution question that is behind that, how these kind of projects develop. But overall, I would say that considering the challenges that we're facing and that the Baltic countries are delivering something like this first time, it is actually going in quite a good pace, pretty fast, and we are now applying strategies that perhaps without all the challenges that we see on the market, and looking back a few years ago, would not have been conceivable here. So I think we're doing a really good job in that sense. But perhaps if my colleagues want to comment on the indexation or anything.
Just briefly, negotiations usually are subject of indexation is subject of negotiations. And this is where actually we meet with the suppliers in the procurement phase, and we discuss. We discussed which would be the most preferable way, because the markets, from one, for instance, consolidated material to another, there's totally different aspects of and indexes themselves. Therefore, it's subject of negotiations, discussions with the market to come up with a solution which fits the most. But there is no perfect indexation formula yet, as far as we have not established, because there are, as Christian said, risks which you can control and which you can risks which you should ensure one or another way.
Now that we touch upon the subject of construction materials, so RB Rail, the Rail Baltica joint venture, is procuring a certain number of construction materials in a consolidated manner. It means for the whole project. So maybe Martin, you can comment on the stage of these. And also I have a question from Valeris, a practical one, as he says, being a certified welded structural steel manufacturing company in Latvia with relevant experience, who shall we approach to qualify and deliver? So I think it would be then in a subcontracting also capacity, or maybe can you comment?
Well, these are kind of two different topics. First
Very
of all,
good. Answer both.
Okay. About the consolidated materials, of course. The stage is very close to finalization of the procurement. So all of these materials, as I listed in my presentation, 5 of them, they are in negotiation phase. So basically, one or another sooner or another later, we're closing down the negotiations. We have put a lot of effort into discussion with the suppliers, aligning contractual conditions, indexation itself as well, and finally, for most of them, we are ready to ask manufacturers to submit their final bids, and based on that, we make a decision. Therefore, we expect, as in my presentation was shown, it is beginning of the next year, we would sign most of them. So one can come in as well already sooner than that, end of this year. Second question about opportunities of welded steel.
Yes, local welding experts.
Okay, most probably at this point we have no opening for such procurement as to become as a general contractor for such works. Nobody knows. Of course, in the future, they can be any such opportunities. But most probably, Christian would take this question since you deal more with the market.
I think from a maybe strategic point of view of how to approach and understand the practicality of the question, how to be involved, we provide opportunity for supplier meetings to interested parties. Simply get in touch with us, please, and express the opportunity. And of course, we have limited resource, but we're trying to, within reason, provide these options as much as we can. But for such particular type of works, the question is subcontracting. And here the approach, I guess, will be to find out who the main contractors are. With different kind of steel beams and steel elements, how to weld them, and where to become involved, either be it structures, civil works, construction, be it station construction, something else that where such kind of speciality might be needed. There, the question first and foremost will be, who are the main contractors? So I would expect that also the local welding companies, they have a good understanding who the main contractors are generally for infrastructure works, and it pretty much works along the same path really to find a way how to provide an offer of value to the potential subcontractors who come and participate in our tenders, and that will be the path to success in participation in Rail Baltica, as most likely we will not have bigger packages for welding as such provided.
All right, next question is addressed to Jean-Marc. Well, I address it to you, Jean-Marc, as it relates to the operational questions. So probably we don't have an answer yet, but I think you can comment. It's Julia asking, what kind of ticketing system will be there? Will there be an option to purchase tickets quickly and conveniently?
Yes, I think this is a must. This is a must for a Baltica project to have such a system. So for now, the ticketing system is still in definition. We are mostly focusing on all the technical aspects for the procurement, and that will be included in CCS scope. Yeah. But regarding the overall policy to be applied for the acquisition of the ticketing for the passenger, let's say, experience to travel and to buy the ticket. So there are still different functionality that are under discussion between the three states. But I think one thing is sure, everybody understands that if we want the success of Rail Baltica, if we want to have a maximum passenger using our trains, we should have a seamless solutions for the passenger to travel in Rail Baltica between high-speed night trains and regional trains, but also with the other trains in the Baltic. So this, we are strongly working on this as well.
Thank you. So I would say the final question goes to Elina. So you presented this very engaging way how to involve suppliers from an early stage. However, we still get these questions, how can I get involved? So we heard that first you have to manifest your interest yourself. But I think that it's not always the case that there is such a consultation phase. So can you comment? Is there always a consultation phase, or in what cases there is one and when there is none?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So no, it is not mandatory to conclude these market consultations. Actually, it is up to the Procurement Commission to decide this. And usually market consultations are held if it can help to develop the documentation in better quality, if there are still critical questions that need to be answered, and of course in the second case, if the Procurement Commission sees that the competition will not be so wide, so they use this chance to publish technical requirements and also qualification criteria, and allow for market suppliers to comment and provide feedback on such documentation. So no, yes, the answer is no, but however, market research will be in all cases, definitely. This is like separate things.
For that reason, if there is interest, it's always worthwhile to approach procurement department with the interest, with the information, so that we at least we can identify, store, give a feedback, inform. Either there will be consultations, either not. So case by case.
Yeah.
I would like to actually raise a slightly different idea of approach, which is, I think, very useful in the longer term. So we have a unique project. It's one-of-a-kind project in the Baltics, which brings together international and local knowledge. We don't really have in the Baltics, in many cases, the specialist experts on particular high-speed topics, high-speed railway topics. So we have to get this knowledge from elsewhere. We have international companies that have wonderful expertise, but they don't have the local knowledge. So this provides this this mix of partnerships, different types of partnerships that evolve and take place. But to get to that place, to get to these partnerships, to form a team to come and participate in our tenders and become our contracting partner, companies don't have to wait, especially local companies. They don't have to wait if they see that there is an opportunity, but they maybe don't meet the requirements or they don't have all the expertise. They can also have some initiative to go and find international partners. And same with the subcontractors. You don't have to wait until the main contractors find you. I think it needs to work both ways here. And this project provides such a wonderful opportunity for regional companies to learn and grow. And a few years from now, to have grown and nurtured the expertise so that also the market widens for them. So on the back of this project, it's possible to also build the knowledge for future to export for other projects beyond this region. So I would really also call upon all the supplier market to show initiative, be proactive and learn. I think in some cases learning for the future opportunities is maybe even more rewarding than getting that one contract.
I think it's a great final message. So the exercise is actually twofold, or the effort has to come from both sides, like in every relationship. So on the one hand, suppliers have to be active and show initiative, and on the other hand, we as the project have to make sure that information is more accessible and more transparent. I think with this we can close this panel. I thank you all for your contributions. Thank you, Jean-Marc, for joining us also online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, the event is coming to an end, and I think it has been a very insightful conference. I'm very glad that we had the opportunity to dedicate so much time to questions and discussions. This is actually the most important component of such events. So, however, if you feel that your question was left unanswered, we will compose responses in written form and publish these on our website after the event. And throughout the project implementation phase overall, you heard it with my colleagues from procurement, don't ever hesitate to ask your questions and show your interests. So, also a practical reminder, you will be able to access materials that were shown during this event. If you register, you can find the information for registration on our website where there is information on this Rail Baltica Industry Day. And you will also be able to watch the recording of this event on our website or on YouTube if you missed it or if you loved it and want to watch it again. So thank you to all the participants, to the European Commission, ministries of the 3 Baltic states, the national implementing bodies, as well as all the colleagues from the joint ventures. And also a big thank you to all the numerous people who are working behind the scenes to make this a pleasant experience for everyone involved. Also, final thank you goes to the audience. I thank you for the time that you have devoted to learn about the project progress. As we heard today, project time is relative, but it is the most valuable thing we all have. So I hope to be able to see you soon in person in the spring of 2024 at the Rail Baltica Global Forum. Goodbye.